My name's Quinn, and on the morning they marched 60 of us out to die, I was the only one who'd raised his hand to go. The knights called it a scouting run. Walk into the valley, find the boar men, walk back, and every man who made it home got meat. All he could eat. Simple words for simple men. Most of the squires shuffling along beside me couldn't read a single letter. So simple was the only language anybody wasted on us. But I kept my ears open at the war tents, and I knew exactly what we were. We were bait. The plan was clean, if you weren't the one bleeding for it. 60 of us would wander into the gorge, the boarmen would pour after us, and the Empire's heavy infantry would seal both ends and grind 3,000 orcs into paste. 60 peasants for 3,000 orcs. On a ledger somewhere, that was a bargain. Here's the thing nobody bothered to tell the rest of these men. A squire isn't a person. He's a tool that happens to breathe. Every noble dragged out to this front line brought his squires the way you'd bring a shovel. And when the shovel snapped, you didn't grieve it. You left it in the dirt. So none of them should have been smiling. And me, I shouldn't have been calm. But 2 years ago, something woke up inside me. And it changed everything. I plucked a little blue wildflower off the bank and chewed it. Bitter as a grudge, the kind hunters used to stay sharp through a long night. The squire next to me gawked like I'd swallowed a live coal. I used to be a hunter before all this, which was exactly why my skin had started crawling 100 yards back. There was a stink in that valley. Big predator musk, the kind a beast leaves to say this ground is mine. But this gorge had been picked by men and orcs as a killing field. Nothing wild was supposed to be breathing here. Nothing, except a mount. And that meant the scout's report was wrong. The boar riders were never supposed to be this far forward. They didn't send their best out to play lookout. I spat the flour onto the mud. Wrong, I thought. The numbers are wrong. That was the exact moment a stone the size of a fist took the man 3 rows up square in the face. He didn't scream. He didn't even stagger. He just dropped, straight down, like the strings had been cut. Then the sky came apart. Run! Boar men, it's the boar men. They're everywhere. Somebody help me. Stones fell like hail, and the killing field finally lived up to its name. Let me back up about 10 seconds, because you need to understand the thing in my skull before the bodies start stacking. 2 years back, I remembered a whole other life. I'm not from here, not really. And the day those memories surfaced, I got something with them. A voice only I could hear, bright and chipper as a shopkeeper, that announced itself like this. Killshot Archer System, at your service. The deal was simple. Kill anything tougher than a grown man, and I earned progress. Fill the bar, and the system reached out into 1,000 worlds and pulled me a skill at random. Some archer's gift, some warrior's trick. My very first roll, 2 years ago, when I was still a skinny runt nobody looked at twice, gave me this. Beast arm strength. Rank B+. From a hunter without equal, grip enough to throttle a lion, and a presence that sends lesser beasts running. That's why I grew. That's why the wild things in the forest wouldn't come near me. And that's why, when a squad of boar riders boiled out of the trees to surround 60 terrified peasants, I was the only one who grinned. 20 of them. 60 of us. You'd think the numbers favored the men. They didn't. Each rider sat a tusk hog the size of a small wagon, squat and armored in stitched-together skull plates, swinging stone hatchets and whirling slings. Every one of them had beaten 2 of his own brothers just to ride in this raid. These weren't soldiers. They were the meanest things their tribe could grow. The squires scattered like spooked chickens, throwing down their pitchforks, certain that out here, you only had to outrun the man beside you. But this wasn't the woods. This was a battlefield. The orcs would kill all of us. Most of these men had stepped onto a battlefield exactly once in their lives, and this was it. I didn't waste a glance on them. I had eyes for one thing, the rider out front. Their captain. He sat his hog with a stillness the others didn't have, calling orders in broken trade tongue. That big one's mine, he was telling them. The rest of you, clean up the squires. He'd already marked me as the only real threat in the bunch, which, fair. He lashed his hatchet to his wrist with a strip of leather so I couldn't knock it loose, and dropped into a hunter's crouch. The hog beneath him trembled. My beast arm presence does that to animals, but it didn't bolt. Loyal beast. I'll give the orc that. He'd raised it right. Nice mount, I said. His name is Bladetooth. The captain's ugly face went solemn. He is my best little brother. Then the hog launched like a catapult, and the bone hatchet came at me from an angle a man's I can't follow. So I didn't try to follow it. I bent down, grabbed the fresh corpse at my feet, the poor bastard the first stone had killed, and shoved him up into the swing. The hatchet buried itself in dead meat and stuck. The captain's face twisted. "Coward," he hissed. "I really don't care," I told him, and closed my free hand around his throat. I plucked him off the hog like lifting a kitten. He clawed for the bone blade on his hip. He never reached it. I squeezed. There was a small wet crack, and the captain of the boar riders stopped being a problem. And in my skull, the system sang. Progress complete. Rolling. New skill acquired. Ashina style. From a spearman at the height of his art. 3 weapons wielded as one. Footwork like lightning. Feet that never touched the ground. Cross spear mastery. Single sword mastery. Draw speed increased. I felt it land in my muscles all at once, like I'd practiced it for 20 years and only just woken up. "So that's how you hold a blade," I murmured, and pulled the dead captain's bone sword from his belt. The thing was 4 feet long and felt like a feather. I opened the hog's throat with it almost gently, the way you'd ladle soup, and turned to face the rest. They'd seen their captain die, and they'd forgotten every order he gave them. Now there was just one word left in all of their mouths. Revenge. Good. Come on, then. I'd love to walk you through every cut. The truth is it took maybe a minute. When it was done, I stood at the bottom of a small mountain of dead orcs, wiping a dulled bone blade clean and sawing one fat hindquarter off a tusk hog because, hey, meat's meat, and a man's earned dinner when he survives an ambush nobody meant him to survive. I sized the corpses up while I worked. These riders had been weak, relatively, which told me something ugly. If the boarmen still followed their custom, sending the runts out to scout, then these, the ones I'd just slaughtered, were the bottom of the barrel. So where were the real ones? The numbers were wrong, and somebody was about to have a very bad afternoon over it. I wasn't there for the next part, so I'll tell it the way I pieced it together later. Back at Thornspear Fortress, the knight in command, a hard man named Polibo, eyes like a hawk under his helm, was busy threatening the handful of squires who'd come running back. Lying about enemy numbers was a hanging offense, he reminded them. As penance, he was going to put their noble masters at the tip of the next charge. The nobles started cursing and squealing. It was, by all accounts, a delightful scene. Then a guard jogged up and told him another squire had come back. So put his master on the line with the rest. Polibo said, not looking up. "My lord," the guard said, "this one's different." "Different how?" That's when I walked in. 6'3" of squire, soaked head to boot in orc blood, 2 tusk hog hindquarters slung over my shoulder, and a bone sword on my hip that only a rider captain was ever allowed to carry. Polibo's whole posture changed. "Tell me," he said slowly, "where you found that blade." I scratched my head and gave him an easy smile, because I could see exactly what he was, a man looking for a reason to have me killed. So I didn't give him one. I gave him something better. "Found a whole squad of dead boar riders," I said, "about 3 miles due north, in the trees. Looked like a scouting screen, clearing the woods ahead of something bigger. Now, is that something you already knew? Or something you didn't?" Under his helm, his eyes finally lit. He stopped wasting words on me and started barking at the men around him. "Muster the column. Every night we've got." Those gutless scouts only saw the shape of it, and they guessed a single tribe. But if the riders pinned all their hogs in the center, those cowards couldn't have counted straight if their lives depended on it. This isn't a tribe. It's a pure cavalry legion. 2,000 strong, easy. And whoever's leading 2,000 mounted orcs is not some nobody. He had the whole picture in under a minute. I'll say this for Polibo, the man could read a battlefield. He spun on the cowering squires. "And you lot, your crimes won't reach the captain's ears today. Get out of my sight." Then, to me, over his shoulder, "And you, next time you address an officer, you'll use the proper respect." He never once thought I was lying. The blade in my hand, the size of those hindquarters, the math was already chiseled in stone. "Cavalry," he was roaring as I left. "I want every horse saddled in 30 minutes. And me? I went home to my tent. I had a brother to feed. "Wes, I'm back. Wait till you see what I brought you." I pushed the flap aside and stopped. There was a woman leaning over my friend, pinching his cheek. Wes is a noble. He's also the prettiest thing on this whole grim front line, and he hates that I think so. Golden hair, a little scatter of it falling over a tear-shaped mole at the corner of one eye. A face like he'd wandered out of a fairy tale and gotten lost looking for the princess. We grew up together. His family's the local lords back home. Mine has served theirs for generations, and the two of us had been thick as thieves since we were knee-high. I'd hauled him off the battlefield 2 days ago when his first charge ended with him face down in the mud and a broken leg. He still hadn't forgiven the universe for it. Quinn, he lit up, all delight, and started introducing the stranger before I could blink. This is Lady Hester. She's amazing, an elite-rank doctor, basically a knight of medicine. She's been fixing my leg. The woman turned, and I got the full picture. Cropped silver curls, a clean white coat, a face cold and proud as an alpine flower, beautiful, and built to keep you at arm's length. She rose, tucked Wes's blanket up, and told him his leg was good as healed. Then she swept past me toward the door, and on the way out she actually brushed at the spot where my bloody sleeve had grazed hers. Like I dirted her. Don't take it personal, Wes said. Lady Hester likes things clean. Don't care a bit, I said, dumping the hog legs in the corner. Your noble heads are full of strange wiring. A little fuss about blood is practically normal. I poked his chest. Wait, are you getting soft here? You've got some give. Have you done a single push-up since we got to this front? You're disgusting. Drop dead. And he kicked at my chin with all the grace of a man who hadn't exercised in his entire pampered life. His leg gave out, his head pitched backward, and I caught him by the ankle before he cracked his skull and just held him there. Hung him upside down, swinging, while he shrieked. Put me down, you wretch. Nope. That's an order. Can't hear you, my lord. My leg's gonna break again. Ow, ow, huh? Got you. Eat my foot. You really think these chicken arms can take me? He was laughing too hard to keep cursing. So was I? For about 30 seconds, we were just two boys from Bordeaux again. Before any of this. Before the orcs. Before the war tents. Before the thing in my skull. Out in the corridor, Lady Hester had stopped walking. Elite senses pick up everything, and she'd heard the racket. A noble and a commoner, roughhousing like brothers. She frowned at the closed flap. A noble and a peasant? Then, almost to herself, though if it's him, maybe he's earned the right. Her fingers drifted to her own throat and came away with a thin line of cold sweat. Because in the half-second she'd shown me her disgust, she'd felt it. The urge that flickered through the man with the bone blade. The flat, easy certainty that he could open her throat the way a butcher opens a hog and lose no sleep over it. She'd hidden it well, that fear. But she didn't dare be angry with me, because she could tell I really would have done it. While I was hanging my best friend upside down, the real war was happening 3 miles out, and I'll give it to you the way it was given to me. Out on the open plain, the Boermen had the captain's column surrounded, and one of them stepped forward to bellow a challenge. He stood over 10 feet tall, his hide carved all over with ugly black sigils, muscle gleaming like poured iron. The 2 black tusks that should have grown from his jaw he carried in his fists instead, like a matched pair of cleavers. Where is your strongest? He roared. I am Hethril, 2nd champion of the Bristlefang tribe, giant slayer. Before the god of war, I name you to single combat. This was the orc the bards would have warned us about if they'd known him. Alone, he'd once hunted a cloud titan in the snow. 8 years back, he'd led 2,000 riders on a 3-day raid that gutted 2 cities of the Holy See. 3 years ago, in the pits, he'd killed a demon lord called the Nightmare Knight. 3 impossible deeds. And the quiet truth nobody said out loud was this. Not one of the 20 fortress commanders on the Crystal Line could beat him alone. Only the Marshal, the man who held the whole line, the Empire's first sword, a dragon slayer the bards already sang about, could promise a win. If our captain fought him one-on-one, he'd be dead inside 100 exchanges. Our captain knew it. He stood there in his black warplate, 8 feet of him, 2 points of gold burning behind his faceplate, and he didn't flinch. I can't outrun this, he said quietly to the knight beside him. If I stop here, most of this column dies on my orders. So I won't stop. He hefted his great 2-handed axe, a tiger's shadow rising at his back, and opened his mouth to answer the challenge. And a rider crashed through the lines, war flag high, screaming himself raw. Captain, don't answer. Our cavalry's broken through from behind. Polybo's heavy horse cut a road clean through them, and 3 more fortress legions are riding to us right now. The marshal's orders, break off, fall back, go. It was a lie. There were no 3 legions. But Hethril, half a mile off, heard every word, and did the orc math. 1-on-1, he won. 1 against 4, he didn't. So he ground his tusks together, swallowed his bloodlust, and called the retreat. We're just letting them go, one of his warriors grunted. Be patient, Hethril said. Once the prophecy opens, we'll have all the chances we want. And that, the prophecy, was the thing none of us understood yet. An hour later, the captain hauled me to his courtyard to get a look at me. You should know what kind of place it was. The walls were one solid slab of stone half a yard thick, and the ground was plowed into craters, like something enormous had thrown a tantrum there. 2 knights waited in the dark, one big, one small. The small one was Polybo. The big one stood a clean 8.5 feet, and even at my new size he loomed. Quinn, that's the name, he said. His voice was a gravelly, delighted rasp. Funny thing, I owe you a thank you. If you hadn't tipped Polybo off, getting clear of that pig-faced bastard would have cost me a lot of good men. See, I walked into a trap. Who wouldn't take a swing at 3,000 pigs marching down the road in broad daylight? Off to the side, Polybo wiped sweat that wasn't there off his helm. Only the captain could call reckless greed a charming little anecdote. Then the captain stood, and the air moved. No sound, just a wall of pressure rolling off him like heat off a forge. Old bear, caged tiger, something wild and original. The hair stood up on my arms. Here's the bad news, he said. You've got no noble blood. No barbarian blood either. You're just a big, ordinary commoner. But I have a way. He leaned down close. Tell me, boy, do you want to be a warrior? I didn't hesitate. Yes. Here's the part where I learned the rules of the game I was actually playing. Power in this world comes in steps. Elite, legend, epic, myth. Elite is the bottom rung, and a single elite can wipe out a whole squad of boar riders without breaking stride. Legend is another world entirely. That's where the captain stood. Above that, only 5 epics held the whole empire together, and above them, just 2 souls carried myth, the Golden Emperor and the Grand Marshal. That's the kind of strength that can erase a country off a map. It's the thing this empire has been built on for 1,000 years. For a noble, the road to power runs through bloodline. But for a black-haired peasant like me, with nothing in my veins worth a damn, there's only one door left. And it's an ugly one. It's called the Flower Right, the captain said. The barbarian's last road for the gifted who weren't born lucky. They say the goddess of the hunt is so beautiful no flower in the world is worth 1,000th of her, and her followers offer her the finest prey they ever take, to show their hearts. You let that sit. I open the right for you. Inside 1 hour, you kill prey worthy enough to please her. Succeed, and you become a warrior. Fail, and you become the sacrifice. You lose your mind, turn beast, and chase prey at her side in the divine country forever. Could be worse, honestly. You might even make priest. I understood it the second he said it. Worthy prey wasn't about the size of the kill. It was about the hunt. A fight so even, so savage, that either side might die. That's the only kind a goddess bothers to watch. So I asked the obvious question. If I kill an elite, does that lock it? Do I become a warrior guaranteed? The captain went still. Then he threw back his head and howled with laughter, and smacked Polybo so hard the smaller knight staggered. Polybo, this one's fun. He jabbed a finger at me. Remember it, boy. Every kill is an offering, and the goddess likes her offerings rich. She's very fond of strong warriors. He dropped onto the ground with a grin and waved me off. Now get out of here. Then, while I left, I heard him quietly ask Polybo whether his people could shield me on the field from every elite boar orc that came hunting. Polybo, who'd assumed I was just a toy, was stunned. The captain wasn't playing. He had exactly one of the relics that opens the right left, and he meant to spend it on me. The next morning, the sky turned wrong. Black cloud rolled in low and sat over the fortress and wouldn't move. The green recruits thought it was weather. The old hands knew better. That cloud was the orc priest's work, a vast blessing pouring strength into every common boar man under its shadow. It meant a hard day coming. Wes, I said, time to go to war. I've come down with a terrible illness, he said. It only flares up near battlefields. If that excuse works on the war marshal, I'm right behind you. It didn't. We rode out to the muster ground, and the rules had changed. This time the nobles were the spearhead. The ones still alive after a week of starvation rations weren't necessarily strong, but they were obedient, and they could read. which made them worth more not quite dead. So the Empire wanted them to die usefully, at least. Polybo, working as the day's enforcer, dragged one screaming noble off his horse to make a point, and the fear rolled down the line nice and even. Then he pointed at me. "Peasant, take this horse. You ride at the very front." "No, thanks," I said. "What? Scared to lead? Don't want the horse. I want that sword." I nodded at the dead noble's long blade. "Mine's gone dull." He kicked it over to me. "Take it. But if you fall back to the second rank, I'll twist your neck off like a grape stem." I laughed instead of bristling, because an idea had just gotten interesting. "No complaints there, Sir Polybo. But say I make it home alive. How about you and I have ourselves a duel?" He snorted and flung his sleeve. "If you live, I won't mind dirtying my fists. Call it an early lesson in how a peasant addresses his betters." "Wonderful," I said, beaming. "I'm so glad you accepted." I belted the borrowed sword on and felt a nudge at my hip. Wes, tapping me with his foot. Quinn, you seem kind of angry." "Me? Not at all. I feel great. I just wanted to pull one loudmouth's tongue out, break all four of his limbs, and leave him bedridden and praying to every god he knew never to cross me again. That's all." The war drums started, and the whole horizon came alive with boarmen. The one who stepped out to lead them wasn't Hethril. It was a female, Shulga, fourth champion of the Bristlefangs, huge, blood-marked, dragging a great axe, two prophesied legends to her name. She drove her hog to the front of the field, sneered at the line of crossbows aimed at her, and pointed her axe straight up at the biggest suit of armor on the wall. The challenge couldn't have been clearer. Our captain didn't have it in him to ignore a thing like that. He stepped off a 60-foot wall and landed hard enough to shake the stone, then strode out barehanded. He didn't need a weapon. A pair of legend-blessed fists matched her axe just fine. "I'm Shulga, fourth of the Bristlefangs," she called. "Word is you ran from Hethril last time, coward. You won't run today, will you?" "You're not a coward, then," the captain said. "Just an animal. And you're a mongrel." She brought the axe down slow, almost lazy. He caught the edge barehanded and pushed it back up just as slow. Black sigils flared along her arms. Steam screamed out of the seams of his armor like an overloaded engine. For 10 long seconds, the two of them just leaned into each other, two legends measuring strength, and the air around them tore open in ragged gashes a man could fall into. Anything below legend that wandered too close would have been wind-shredded on the spot. Then they broke apart at the same instant, like they'd agreed on it. Shulga ran her tongue over her teeth and grinned. "One legend's worth of strength, and you held me. The Tiger Slayer stories are true, then." She hefted the axe. "2 legends, and this is all you've got." The captain's voice still dripped contempt, but inside his helm, he was doing his own quiet math. "In a fight to the death, I've got 3 chances in 10. She carried 2 legends worth of power. She could detonate either one and turn him to mist. The only reason she hadn't was the row of fortress crossbows behind him. Miracle weapons, every bolt a threat to a legend. If she went all out, she'd be a pincushion before she landed the blow. So she just licked her lips and laughed. "Keep flapping that jaw, mongrel. When I drag you back alive, we'll see how tough that mouth really is. I've never tested a southern barbarian before." She swung back up onto her hog and ambled off. And behind her, the whole horizon began to move, a black tide rolling forward with no end in sight. The defense drums answered. 1,000 men filed out and locked their shields, and behind those shields lay the fortress's own miracle. As long as a man's 2 feet touched the earth within a mile of those walls, the ground itself fed him strength and stamina. Even buffed by the priest's black cloud, the common boarmen couldn't crack a single chainmail link. Shields up, spears out, again and again. Simple work and brutally good at killing. That black tide hit the wall of men and broke against it like fresh meat hitting a brand new grinder. For 2 hours, Shulga watched her own people die by the 1,000 and never blinked. Then she sent her sons. "Cull, you're up." The rider captain peeled out at the head of 200 horse, his own hog a champion-grade monster, and led the charge himself, out in front. Polybo saw them coming and waved his nobles' cavalry out to meet them, and out of all those terrified blue bloods, the one in the lead, God help us, was Wes. I rode at his left, arms spread, whooping like an idiot. "Faster, faster. Don't fall behind, Wes. Slow down. Please slow down. Look, The thing is, I don't have armor. So when the stones start flying, you're gonna be my shield. What? Relax, you've got plate. Nothing but that one elite can even dent you. Wait, it can dent me? Stop, stop. I don't want to die. Huh. Here comes the rain. Stones cracked off Wes's armor like hail off a bell, and because we were dead in front, most of the volley sailed over us. The nobles behind weren't so lucky. Half their horses went down screaming, riders flung into the dirt. 10 seconds later, the two charges slammed together, and that monster of a rider captain, the one who could split a man and his horse in a single stroke, was suddenly right on top of us. Then I felt a weight settle on my shoulder, light as a bird, and a streak of rainbow light tore off into the dark. Rainbow sword. A woman's voice barked from somewhere behind me. The rider captain's head left his shoulders. His hog dropped under him with a killing wound between its eyes, both of them dead before they hit the ground. The orc's face still lit with the certainty that he'd conquer this fortress today. Then the cloaked woman who'd loosed that strike, Melissa, one of the captain's elites, was gone, slipping back to the walls and leaving the field to us. Wes off the horse. Stop being a target. He'd just hit the dirt when a stone caught him in the skull, and his eyes went swimmy. He stood there swaying, blood sheeting down his face, no idea where he was. So I made him useful. I pulled him in front of me and drove my borrowed sword straight through the throat of the boar man bearing down on us. 3 more leaped in before I could pull it free, and I just yanked Wes sideways into their path. Come here. Dazed out of his mind, my best friend found himself fencing 3 orcs with a spear he barely knew how to hold. He flailed. It was magnificent. Now back. I stepped out from behind him, swept the sword once, and laid all 3 open across the throat in a single line. Only one of them got the air to scream. 53% to the next skill, the system whispered. With the kills before, I was past the halfway mark. So I let myself laugh, and I let myself enjoy it, because the Ashina style had finally settled all the way into my bones. Footwork, blade, instinct, all one thing now. Every boar man who came close went down, and they couldn't even see how. To them, I was just a butcher's machine running on a standard-issue Imperial sword, and I was loving every second of it. Garbage, I called out, standing on a hill of dead pigs. All of you garbage. What's wrong? None of you brave enough to come up here. Up on the wall, the Order Knights were watching me with something between awe and disbelief. What in the hells is that? He's actually insane. He never trained 5 years for that. More like 20. That's not a relic. That's technique. Pure earned skill. The blade alone puts him level with us. Useful right up until an elite shows. He can't punch through their hide. One swing on an elite just scratches paint. Eyes, mouth, armpit, the soft spots. With his strength and his aim, maybe he can. Captain, what do you say? The captain pretended to study me for exactly 2 seconds, then smacked Polibo on the head. I say he's fine. His sword's that good. Let an elite through, see what he does. And if he dies, no, he can't die. I already gave him the tulip. That'd be a waste. Polibo waved it off. He won't die. I slipped Lily out hidden in the noble cavalry. Whatever Shulga sends, our strongest knight cuts it down before it lands a finger on him. The decoy was Melissa, to make the Sow think we'd pulled our knights back inside. She'll never see it coming. On the orc side, Shulga's face had gone cold. Cull's dead. Who goes? 3 of her sons stepped up together, the eldest a giant even among elites, broad enough that he'd grown bigger than his own mount, 2 bone blades on his back. Take care of my hog while I'm gone, he told his brother, and the 3 of them spread into a wedge and came for me at a dead run. This wasn't about my life anymore. If I kept butchering common orcs unopposed, the whole Boarman army's nerve would crack. They needed me dead, publicly, to keep their soldiers brave enough to throw themselves on our shields. Bad timing for these guys, I muttered, and the system chimed in right on cue. Progress complete. Rolling. New skill, mounted riding. Rank EX. From an archer who plays a certain gift bringer 1 night a year. In theory, ride anything, up to and including a dragon. In practice, the holiday rather warped it. Massive bonus to special mounts, penalty to ordinary ones, and a huge attack boost while riding. I had no special mount, but I had a horse and a plan. Wes, quit standing there. Huh, what? Bounce. Those 3 are out of my league. I vaulted into the saddle, hauled Wes up behind me, and put my shield up front. We'd done our job, broken the orc charge, given the line its opening, so I could run with a clear conscience. The horse was a good one and carried both of us at a gallop. But a good horse against an elite is no contest. The dual-blade brother surged ahead of his brothers, blurred into a streak, and ran us down. "Coward," he howled at my back. "Won't you turn your blade on someone strong?" I dropped the reins, hauled the horse to a dead stop, grabbed my useless shield, and jumped clear off the saddle. A heartbeat later, that fine horse was 3 pieces, blood fontaining where it stood, and the dual-blade orc came bursting out of the spray like a beast out of legend, both blades chasing the back of my neck. A hit that would have left me scattered across the field in chunks. Then a warhammer the size of a grown man came whistling in from the side and stopped both blades cold. Sparks. The reek of bone and the clean smell of steel together. I didn't look back. I jumped again and landed safe inside our own ranks. I set my shield, "Sorry, my brother," down on the ground and patted his hip. "Head back. I've got one more thing to do." Wow, what thing? But I was already walking the wrong way, toward the orcs, fishing a little flower out of my belt. It was a soft yellow tulip, swaying in the wind, and the second the light hit it, every soldier near me stopped to stare, even the elite boarmen. Nobody can name the most beautiful flower in the world, but everyone who saw that one suddenly had an answer. The offering flower of the goddess. Nothing else fitted. "Excuse me, kid," I said, nudging past a short-order knight in my way, and planted myself a few yards from the dual-blade orc. He took a step back. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Spend a relic to kill a nobody like him? It seemed almost insulting. What he got instead was me, squinting at a scrap of paper. "How does the prayer go again? Let me find it." I dug out the cheat sheet the captain gave me and rattled it off in one breathless rush. "In the name of the goddess, effigy, single combat and offer this most glorious hunt to the fairest goddess of the divine realm." There. That's it. The tulip caught the wind and scattered into nothing. The orc couldn't follow a word of it, but the instant the prayer ended, he understood the one thing that mattered. He'd been chosen as the goddess's sacrifice. We both had. Her power was already pooling at the field, and only the winner got to drink it. "Huh," he breathed. "Ha ha. A human who isn't even a knight, and he's got the nerve to challenge a champion of the Bristlefangs. To kiss the toe of the hunt goddess is an honor for my whole tribe." The same message reached me. I just found it tacky. "This goddess is something else," I said. "Can she not find a new metaphor? I'm not licking anybody's feet for power." Hard pass. I planted a boot on a dead noble for footing, raised the sword, and stared the orc down. "Pig. This is my first time carving up something elite. Don't disappoint me." "First time?" His grin split his ugly face. "Then let me show you what a Bristlefawn can do." The men and orcs both pulled back and left us a circle, partly out of fear of the gods, partly because divine punishment in this world is a real and very literal thing. Soon there was nothing around me but ruined bodies, ours and theirs, and no more time to think. His first blow drove me back 2 steps. My beast arm strength had never lost a contest of raw power before, but I could feel the gap, and it wasn't a chasm. If he was a grown man, I was maybe a strong 14-year-old. Survivable. He came in again before I'd caught my breath, both bone blades crossing down at me in an X. I didn't retreat. I stepped in, both hands on the hilt, and drove a thrust straight at his throat. Attack is defense. Sometimes the only way out of a corner is forward. 3 edges screamed together. His 2 heavy blades slid off my single one, and my point was suddenly inside his guard, a hair from his neck. "Too slow." He grunted and just tilted his head. The thrust meant for his throat opened a shallow red line instead. I leaped back out of range and ran the numbers in my head, the way I always do. Him, power 10, defense 10, speed 7, technique 7. Me, power 6, defense 2, speed 5, technique 50, and climbing. All right, I thought. Let's play. Eyes can't keep up, fine. Body can't keep pace, fine. Strength falls short, fine. Our blades crashed together again, faces inches apart, and I could see the panic flooding his eyes. "My sword keeps up," I told him. "And that's enough." Then it was hammer and anvil, clang after clang, my single imperial blade darting at every gap a heartbeat before he could close it. He had to spend both weapons and twice my strength just to keep that old, patient sword out of his vitals. "What's wrong, pork chop? You look nervous." You're nothing." The sigils on his chest went black bright, and he stopped holding back. His arms swelled thicker than my thighs, veins crawling. The orc's frenzy, a champion's gift, raw strength poured into the body. The fact that a peasant had forced him to use it would be a stain he'd carry for life. "Did I make you mad?" I asked. He swung, fast enough to have an armored knight and his horse together. But the second his shoulder moved, I was already dropping low, under it, like I'd seen it coming a week ago. And I put my blade clean into his chest. Wrong feel, like stabbing a shield wrapped in 3 layers of hide. The point sank in 2 fingers and stuck in solid muscle, and his second blade was already swinging for my arm. He grinned through the pain. He'd bet his hide that my sword couldn't punch through his frenzy. He'd bet right. Now he only had to make me let go of the hilt, and he kicked it free, sent my blade spinning up into the air. A light ting, not the heavy ring of clashing steel. My sword tumbled end over end, sunlight flashing off it, around and around, throwing glare across his face. He could already see his victory in its reflection. He could see the divine power waiting to crown him. What he couldn't see, until it was too late, was the spearhead growing in his vision. Because the field was full of the dead, and the dead leave gifts. While the sword spun and his eyes followed it, I'd swept a fallen noble's iron spear up off the ground, and as his head turned, I put it through his eye and into the soft meat behind it. One twist. Done. I pulled the spear free and looked down at him, and I almost meant the regret. "Shame," I murmured. "You didn't make it to the second round." The wind carried a whisper that wasn't the wind. The goddess's trial was over, and her power was coming. "That's it," I said to the empty air. Felt kind of average, honestly. Wasn't even that dangerous. To everyone watching, the whole exchange had taken about 2 seconds. Orc uses frenzy. Orc grows unstoppable. Orc is unbeatable. Orc is dead. Only the knights on the wall and the elite orcs caught what really happened in those 2 seconds. A feat of battlefield art so far past ordinary that some of the knights, watching, knew they couldn't have done it. I was still drinking in the goddess's power when a small voice spoke at my elbow. "Stand behind me a little." I turned. It was the short order knight I'd shoved past, armored head to toe, no telling man or woman, but the voice put her at maybe 15. "A kid. Shulga's about to unleash her legend," she said, deadly serious in that grown-up pretend way kids have. "You're the captain's favorite. I'll take this one for you. A legend isn't easy to reach. You have to do something the gods themselves acknowledge." Shulga had earned hers honestly. One of her deeds, she'd led her children against a flight of wyverns and brought down their leader, a creature worth 3 legends' strength, with a single slingstone from 100 yards up. That sling was in her hands now, winding, a wind tearing off it that made the orcs nearest her flinch back from their own mother. "The tribe stands at its dusk," she chanted, "and so we rise. No 2-legged false dragon shall fly over our plains." Legend unleashed. Dragon blood fall. The sling spun up into a string of cracking booms, and then a stone screamed off it like a falling star trailing fire, straight across 3 miles of open air at me, dragging a tail of flame 30 yards long. The little knight just set her great hammer in front of her, planted herself like a foundation stone, and turned on her own power. "Order bulwark." "Will that kill you?" I asked. I genuinely worried. "No." She rapped her hammer once. "We stand here, and so we are the Empire's wall." The earth itself seemed to wail. A 5-yard ball of fire bore down on us, and 100 feet out, it slammed into something invisible and lost 9/10 of its force in a heartbeat. "That's another of this fortress's miracles," she called over the roar. "Any flying weapon from outside gets gutted of its power, unless it's epic grade. Here's your first lesson, big guy. A miracle always fails in front of a greater miracle." Then the stone hit her anyway, and launched her backward like a cannonball, plowing a furrow through a crowd of our own infantry. "Hey, kid, you said all that with so much confidence I figured you had it handled." I did the math on how far she'd flown, and on my own pitiful defense, and decided that if I'd eaten that hit, I'd be scattered across the next county. 15 yards and a headache was, frankly, a great outcome. She picked herself up, shook the dirt off, and I wrapped a knuckle on her helmet. "You okay?" "Fine." Her hands would be useless for a day from absorbing that, but she didn't say so. Above us, the priest's black cloud tore open, and a shaft of pure gold poured down on me. I felt my body change. 6'3" stretching past 6.5. The goddess's strength settling into every fiber. Then the little knight tugged my belt and crooked a finger, motioning me down to her level. She had a secret to whisper. So, that hunt goddess power. Does it make you taller? A beat. Not for me. For a friend. She's got, needs in that department. Fall back. Fall back. The orcs withdrew like an outgoing tide, leaving the field carpeted with their dead. Half a day of fighting, and the boarmen had lost over 1,000. We'd lost fewer than 30. A brutal trade in our favor, the everyday arithmetic of the crystal line. The Golden Empire's soldiers are the peak of an age that fights with steel and muscle. The boarmen are still chipping spears out of stone. The only blades that matter on their side are bone, carried by the rider captains, and there aren't many of those. The mood inside Thornspear that night was light. A lot of green recruits had bloodied their hands and lived. And me, I'd done something the whole wall had watched. So that night, in the captain's cratered little courtyard, I got the offer. He clamped a hand on my head, knocked it twice against his breastplate, and made me a promise. Boy, I don't know where you trained, but my guard doesn't ask where men come from. Whatever you did before, it's done. Even if the Inquisition's own order judge walked in here, he couldn't lay a finger on you. There's just one unfair part. You can't know my name yet. Once this orc pushes over, I'll take you to brand a seal of order into you, and then I'll tell you. Names matter in a world run on miracles. So the commanders of the Crystal Line hide theirs, and even their closest people get a seal burned in to keep an orc from turning a captured mind against the Empire. Lily, dig out that old set of my armor and have it cut down for him. Quinn, pick any horse in the fortress that's got no master. Move into the place across from mine. You eat double rations from now on. We warriors run hot. Everything you need, it's handled. That's elite treatment. Step into the miracle, and short of betraying the Empire, you live above the law. So I figured I'd ask for what I actually wanted. Captain, 2 requests. Name them. First, let my master move in near me. He doesn't need his own place. I'll bunk with him, eat plain rations, I don't care. The captain waved it off. Done, though you outrank him now. He's a convict. You could take a whip to him, and his family wouldn't dare lift a hand. I shook my head. He was good to me when nobody else was. I'm not going to let him suffer now. The captain's eyes warmed. Loyalty scores points. Good man. Give him his own courtyard then, night's rations. And the second, I let my voice go quiet, and let the new strength under my skin turn toward the smaller knight at his side. I want a duel. A real one. Knight against knight. No rules. Until somebody yields. And I pointed at Polybo. The captain dropped flat on his backside, laughing, and shoved Polybo out into the open. That one I grant too. Nobody found it strange. New power wants testing, and Polybo was the weakest fighter in the guard. He drew his sword, stabbed it in the ground, and hefted only the scabbard, eyes bright behind his helm. New blood, he said. I think I'll just use the sheath. That fair. He'd watch me all day. He'd watch me carve an elite to pieces. And he still thought a man of common blood couldn't touch him. He spread his arms wide and left himself open, sneering. Come on then. Show me what you. My open palm caught him across the face before he finished the word. The world spun out from under him. He hadn't even felt himself fall when my hand closed on his throat and lifted all of him off the ground. And his scabbard slipped from his fingers into the dirt, and he never noticed. Care to yield? I asked, pleasant as anything. Or would you like to go pick up your weapon? I tossed him next to his planted sword. And here's a thing about the goddess's gift, it doesn't announce itself. You just notice, slowly, that you can see farther, jump higher, run faster, lift more. By the time it sinks in, you're already something other than human. As an elite, I was over 5 times the man I'd been the day before. And the day before, I'd been trading blade strokes with an elite orc. 5 times that. Sir Knight, I said, if you're going to surrender, sooner's better than later. He snatched up the real sword instead and came at me like a rabid thing. All his class pride curdled into hate. You mongrel. Every black and silver-haired noble in this empire looks down on a black-haired peasant. But in a one-on-one, contempt doesn't weigh a thing. He thrust the sheath at my belly with everything he had. It didn't move an inch. I caught it, and a small squeeze folded the forged steel scabbard like wet clay. Yield, mongrel commoner. So I clapped both palms flat on his blade, twisted, and snapped the sword in half. Then I kicked him into the courtyard wall, that half-yard of solid stone, and left a man-shaped crater in it. Anything less than solid rock, and the wall would have come down. I crossed to where he lay, crouched by his head, and flicked a finger against his steel helmet, ringing it like a bell. "Sir Knight," I said, "care to yield now?" "Mongrel commoner. Mongrel commoner." The words ground out from under the helmet, and I could hear his teeth grinding behind them. So I asked again, nice and friendly, "Care to yield, Sir Knight? You know, if your strength were half as hard as your mouth, I'd be the one face down in the dirt. Sadly, your mouth's running about 1/100th of the way there." He couldn't answer. He was flat on his belly with my boot between his shoulder blades, and all he could do was feel the weight grow. Arms pinned, legs useless, breath sawing in and out, and not one move left to make. He'd thrown up his order bulwark, banking on raw defense to wait me out without ever saying the word. I saw the play, so I picked up the snapped half of his sword, barely a foot of blade, still wickedly sharp, and the other three watching didn't understand why. That edge couldn't punch through the bulwark. Order's gift trades speed for armor, and his armor was a wall. But I wasn't relying on the edge. Moonlight ran down that broken blade like water, and the whole of me, breath, will, intent, gathered onto the steel. The Ashina style was mine now, all the way down. I swept the stub once across his back. Af! The scream tore through the courtyard. Polibo writhed like a stuck worm, and a clean gash had opened down the spine of his armor, the rich cloth lining showing through. A huge hand closed over my wrist before I could go again. The captain had appeared behind me, pressure rolling off him like a heat wave. "That's enough." I yield on Polibo's behalf. He glanced at the man howling on the ground over one parted seam of armor, and waved Lily over to drag him off before he embarrassed the guard any further. I spread my hands and grinned. I wasn't done playing. "But you're the boss. What did Polibo do to you, anyway? You two have history." "Not history exactly. He just never gave me a clean look. Sure, that's the enforcer's job, but it stuck in my craw. I had to grovel to him before I went elite. If I can't whack him back now that I'm elite, what did I bleed for the power for?" The truth is, I went easy. I'd planned to snap all 4 of Polibo's limbs. The only reason I didn't was the captain. He thinks the chance he gave me turned my whole life around. To me, it just sped up the boring, early grind. I've got my cheat. I was always going to get strong. What I actually owed him for was sending Lily to shield me on that field. No elite takes a wound to save a peasant who hasn't shown a scrap of power. Only an order from the captain explains it. So fine. The man's all right. Beat his knight to a pulp after taking all that, and even I'd feel like a heel. "You," the captain sighed, "are a small, petty man." Couldn't argue. "Quinn, how'd you do that today?" Wes was bouncing off the walls of our new room. 2 flicks, and that boar man was just dead. "When did you ever train a sword?" Then his eyes lit. "Wait, you're my squire. Order knights get leave. 20 years on the line, and they hand you a fortune, enough to buy our family's vineyard back. Quinn, be House Pinewood's guardian knight. You love the slaughterhouse, right? I'll give you every slaughterhouse on the estate." "Don't need slaughterhouses anymore," I said, sorting our bags. 1 set of plate, some spare clothes, a few odd weapons. After a battlefield, hacking up livestock for coppers is small change. "Then what do you want?" "Pray." He leapt onto the bed and flung out a hand. "Done. I give you every mountain on the estate." "Too small." The other hand. "Every mountain in the whole province, then. We've got 3 little towns, Wes." He crossed both arms over his head, planted his fists on his hips, and beamed. "Once you win me some glory, I'll be a great lord. Bigger holdings. Still not enough." He drew the full imperial nobles circle in the air. "Then I give you the whole golden empire." "No. See, there's no battlefield deed that earns a man a whole empire. Can't I just dream? Move your butt. I need that blanket. We're packing, you ridiculous lord. Help." That's about when my unexpected guest showed up. She was the cloaked one who'd watched me wreck Polibo, Melissa, one of the few people in Thornspear running on something other than Order's gift. Her whole body was lost under a loose cloak, face and all, but at the wrist I caught 2 bracers worked with strange patterns. Miracle make. Legend-grade craft, easy. The power humming off them felt close kin to my own. The captain's work, no question. When I took her offered hand to shake it, It was small and softer than it had any right to be. I raised an eyebrow, and she didn't pull away. She closed her fingers right back over mine and smiled. Let's talk outside. I know a quiet spot. A girl's finally asking me out. Then I'm a lucky man. She led me half an hour across the dark fortress to a squat stone hut, walled thick as the captain's own courtyard, no lamp inside, just a bed and 3 wooden strongboxes. She had me shut the door. Then she peeled off the cloak, folded it into a neat square, and set it on the pillow. In the thread of moonlight from the little window, I got my look. Slim, a custom leather rig tracing a tall, easy line. Her arms moved when she stretched like they left afterimages in the dark. Then she reached to close the window, and the light fell across her face. And it was an Eastern face, fine and proud, a faint smile hiding in the eyes, a lock of deep purple hair stuck to her neck. And on her right cheek, a brand. The iron-burned mark of a slave. She dropped the window. The dark went total. This is the lockup, she said. When nobody's serving confinement, no one comes within 100 yards. There's a silencing miracle on it, too. We can make all the noise we want, and not a soul will hear. That's promising. When do we start? Now. Now. Clang. 2 blades met, and sparks lit the black, lit 2 near-identical grins. We sprang apart to opposite corners, and she dropped low, sword in one hand, the other splayed on the floor like a 3-legged beast. Quinn, right? I knew it. You're a swordsman. There's no way that washout Polibo could ever beat you. Heh. I went easy on him for the captain's sake. My hand's still itching. I wasn't surprised. When we shook, I'd felt the calluses, the thick, layered kind only years on a hilt leave. She wasn't surprised either. She came at me like a shadow, and even I couldn't fully track her line. I just got the sword up. She couldn't see me in the dark any better than I could see her, but a lifetime of death fights meant the second my arm twitched, she knew what I was doing. Her wrist flicked, a blade flower bloomed, impossible to read, a viper's strike straight for my throat. And I detonated. All that beast arm strength snapped through my arm in one ugly burst of speed, shattered the flower apart, and brought my sword crashing down at her shoulder. A diagonal cut, shoulder to hip, nothing fancy. In my hands, enough to split her in 2 and spill her insides on the floor. She broke off and gave ground, gasping, hauling her breath back in. My cut hit air. I'm not fast enough. You animal, she panted, delighted. That freak strength, you're cast from the same mold as the captain. Is the hunt goddess some kind of giant god? Blasphemy's a serious crime, Lady Melissa. You'll never make legend talking like that. She shrugged in the dark, unbothered. I don't get my power off any god. The miracles never pick mongrels like us. You're the exception. A dirt farmer passing a god's trial is its own little miracle. She told me then about the old Eastern country from the storybooks. Big red-haired, red-eyed men, like blue-haired, blue-eyed women, every one of them a born warrior, none of them bowing to gods. They worshipped strength. They spoke to each other through the sword. I thought of that purple hair down to her waist. So you're, what, a mutation? A vein jumped at her temple. Rude. Accurate, but rude. Then, blunt. Look, the captain trusts you, but the captain trusts everybody. I didn't buy that some country boy passed a god's trial. But your sword doesn't lie. Those calluses don't lie. Years of brutal practice don't lie, and that's all I want from you. I'm a swordsman. There's exactly one road to legend for me. Push my blade to a height that can stand against a legend. So, Quinn, a blade of light kindled in the dark. Her will, compressed to an edge, the same trick I'd used to part Polibo's armor. It's a little contradictory, I know, but you don't hate me, right? Help me. Let me climb on your technique to a peak I've never seen. And if you take me to legend, I'll spend everything I have to forge you a miracle. I scratched my head. The miracle didn't move me much. So I told her the sweet truth instead. Honestly, I don't care about that. The thing is, I really will cut you in half. Good, she breathed, and we hit each other again. Her sword work had no form at all. It was carved out of survival, vicious, every stroke aimed at a kill spot, every stroke ready to trade a wound for a life, crowding me in that tiny room. But I had decades of Ashina memory fused into my bones, fire tempered the same way hers was, and a half-step deeper. If I'd been willing to take a cut, I'd have run her over. We blurred into 2 shadows trading sparks, 10 exchanges in a breath. then too fast to see, the sword will spraying off us like rain, peppering the stone walls with little pinholes. This technique, she whispered, somewhere between worship and madness. I've never met its equal. I have to cut you. I have to. Likewise, I said, just as happily, because the stronger the prey, the more I get out of it. That dual-blade barorc had been worth a measly 13%. She was worth several of him. We sprang apart. She came to chase, and saw me step back, drawing my sword to my hip. Some animal part of her scalp prickled, and she bolted. But the cell was 4 yards across. There was nowhere to run. She felt it lock onto her. The absolute decision to cut her in two, a thing you can't dodge, a thing that reaches past a normal swordsman's limit into something out of legend. I was right about him, she thought. 7 colors flared off her blade and lit the whole room. Her leather armor was already 3/4 in ribbons from the sword wind, red showing through. And she didn't hesitate. She met the cut that was absolutely going to kill her, and she played her last card. Rainbow sword. A needle of force, barely 2 inches, screamed off the rainbow light straight at my heart. Pinpoint. Perfect. Ting. Her edge clipped an afterimage and slid off it like a bug bouncing off a war wagon. And from 4 yards away, I brought my blade down on empty air. A flash of cold light. A line of red opened across her, throat to belly. I sheathed the sword, and the blood bloomed. You met Hester already, the silver-haired army doctor. As field medics go, an elite one ranks high enough that even the captain minds his manners around her on medical questions. What people don't know is the other thing. Huh, you're one of the captain's guard too? With those skinny little arms? You can fight. I dumped a half-dead Melissa on the cot and asked it honestly. Hester didn't answer. She just reached toward the wound, a gash splitting Melissa from shoulder to belly, muscle parted, vessels torn, blood everywhere, and lines of light crawled off her fingers into the cut. It wasn't a wave of holy glow and done. No, under her power, fine threads stitched through the wound at impossible speed, pinching shut every bleeder while they sewed, each stitch landing exactly where it had to. Back in my old life, you'd need a 50-year surgeon for work like that. 10 minutes, and the gash was closing. Another minute, and the seam down her chest faded to a thin pink line, then to nothing. Internal organs and bone were hit, but the cut was clean, no missing flesh, and she's tough. She'll be fine after a night's sleep. Hester let out a long breath. But the frown stayed, because Melissa was Thornspear's third strongest. Outside the captain and Lily, nobody beat her one-on-one. Whatever elite did this to her was a serious threat to the whole fortress. And the wound was so smooth. No beastman's crude butchery left an edge like that. A technique like that, in the right hands, could win battles it had no business winning, which meant a legend in the making, which meant the pressure on Thornspear about to double. This is bad. We may have to call for help from another fortress. You. Come here. Your cuts need looking at. Untended wounds turn into worse. Even disliking me, she wasn't about to let the fortress lose a fighter over a scratch. She passed the light over me. A little itch, and my cuts crusted over. Nothing serious. Just splash damage from the sword wind, 2 centimeters at the deepest. You're really going to leave her like that? I said, not worried about it getting infected. Fever, swelling, the wound going bad. I stopped. This world doesn't have a word for infection. NFEC tie-in. Hester said, what's that? My craft comes from the goddess of plenty. It's never wrong. If a real, correct treatment exists in this world, I've at least heard of it. Meaning, a term even she didn't know had to be quack talk. And the wound won't go bad. I don't heal like the sea next door. I don't mend directly. I spend miracle power to stand in for the whole cleaning and binding and skip straight to the result. The wound healed. Understand. I did. 1-button cleanup. The goddess uploads the save file, Hester loads it, spends power, and the patient's back to default. Handy. So, she said, pulling out a slate to write. Tell me the Beastman tribe that did this to you, and I'll craft countermeasures. Still marveling at the magic, I asked, what tribe? Her brow knit. She really did hate dealing with peasants. You were carrying out the captain's orders when you got hurt, weren't you? And then I said the thing she didn't expect. Nah, we were just sparring. Shame, really. I gripped too hard at the end, and the blade snapped, or she'd be in 2 pieces right now. I scratched my head, a little sheepish, and held up the broken sword for her. It matched Melissa's wound exactly. Hester's whole face went blank. Melissa told me the next part later, more or less. The second she woke, before checking her own wound, she grabbed Hester's arm and begged, "Don't tell the captain. Please. He'll lock me in confinement for days." "Now you're sorry," Hester snapped. The second he said, sparring, "I should have known you started it. I should let you bleed out and stop wasting my power patching you up every week." The two of them were close. Anyone could see it. In front of the other guards, Melissa was a silent ghost. But with Hester, she turned into a bratty little sister caught red-handed, pleading with the strict big sister not to tell. And Hester only pretended to be angry. Then Melissa leaned in and whispered, "Besides, Quinn looks like a dumb slab of beef, but he's actually a good guy." Hester doubted that. She'd glanced up to find me waving at her, friendly enough, but my eyes had already swept over her and clocked exactly 4 spots. Throat, heart, belly, the big artery in the leg. Just a flicker. But she caught it. She always catches it. The man was working out how to take her apart, or how to cripple her without quite killing her. Her verdict on me was final: stay away from this one. A genuine, certified maniac. Which, no. I'd just seen a pretty woman and let my eyes wander from leg to neck like anybody would. But her senses are so sharp I can't even sneak a look. It's exhausting. "Quinn. Catch." Melissa tossed me a pouch. Heavy. Jingled like coin. "Call it your fee. It's everything I've saved." I'd meant to say I'm not that kind of guy. Then I heard it. Close to 50 gold. Enough to buy several slaughterhouses outright. In a world where 1 copper buys the worst loaf of black bread, and it's 100 coppers to the silver, 100 silver to the gold, 50 gold was a fortune. My father's whole monthly allowance to me was a few silver. I pumped my fist. "Rich man, that's me." "My lords," I said. And this time when I called them lords, there wasn't a drop of sarcasm in it. "If there's nothing else, this humble servant will retire." The hour's late. The next morning, I woke to muttering through the wall. Going elite sharpened my hearing along with everything else, and the 2 voices next door were trying to be quiet and failing. Fortress stone deadens sound, but it doesn't deaden it for a wild beast warrior. "Lady Hester, you really knew my father?" "He was the bastard son of a bastard son of an uncle of mine." "But yes, we met once. Hester and Wes. So that's why she'd turned up at our tent. They were kin." Which tracked. Silver and gold hair both run back to royal and founding noble blood, and follow that line far enough, and everyone with those colors shares a root somewhere. "So why come find me?" Wes asked, baffled. The fortress was thick with nobles related to her. Why single out one half-dead cannon fodder lordling? "Your hair is the gold of the royal line. Both your parents are silver, but that doesn't bury your potential. In 700 years, every gold-haired child born to 2 silver parents has gone on to write an epic. Every commander on this line. Only 3 are silver. The rest are gold royal blood. Which means you, Wes, carry a gift well past ordinary." I could hear Wes light up through the wall. A little shriek, all surprise and joy. Come to think of it, that might have been the first time an adult ever told him he was good at anything. He'd never shown a talent in his life. He was, if anything, a half-step below ordinary, with nothing to his name but a soft, useless kindness that smiled at everyone. Another word for it is weak. "So you're here to train me? Tell me what to do." "Become an order knight. Train, day after day, until the god of order takes notice. That's when your gift shows itself." That's it. I knew exactly how he felt. It's the "you'll be a great man someday, just study hard" of every elder everywhere. Hot air. Except, by her tone, Hester wasn't blowing smoke. She really believed Wes would do something extraordinary. "One more thing," she added lower. "Your squire already has the captain's favor. If you can't keep him in check, the day he turns on you, you won't survive it. Quinn, we grew up together. I've seen this too many times. Before he had power, he kept the claws hidden. Now, one slip, and you're in his palm. No way. Quinn's really nice. That's my brother. The doctor just goes around bad-mouthing me. I'll get her back for that someday." I rolled over to grab a little more sleep before muster. Half dreaming, I caught a few more scraps through the wall. "Man. Woman. Never noticed when you were small. There's a special reason for it. You were that mischievous as a kid?" No wonder he assumed. But I was too far gone to follow it. Figured Wes had some dumb childhood secret. Probably wet the bed till he was 8, and sank back under. until a small foot in a white cotton sock kicked me square in the rear. Quinn, up. The knights have a morning briefing. If Hester hadn't just told me, you'd be late. Can I file for an exemption? You two yammering through the wall kept me up all. What did you hear? Wes's voice cracked, genuinely rattled. I grabbed him by the scruff and gave him a shake. I heard you should train more and stop hiding in your room. In weeks at Thornspear, he hadn't done one honest session. Too weak to last 2 hours, when the order minimum is 3 a day. I clapped a hand on his unimpressive arm. You ate that pork knuckle happy enough. Put on some muscle, would you? Why's it all going to fat? He punched me right in the face. You're the one getting fat. The war council ran like clockwork, and clockwork surprised me. I'd braced for 3 hours of droning. Instead, the captain sat at the head of the long table, Lily and Polybo on his left, Melissa and Hester on his right. 20 armored knights around a sandbox map that redrew itself every minute with live troop positions, courtesy of the Crystal Line's miracle, and he gave it to us in 3 points. 1. Your reserve knights, strong but green. I don't fear you running. I fear you dying for nothing. Protect yourselves, abandon the mission, and fall back if you must. Every knight is a treasure of the Empire. 2. We've got a new elite as of yesterday, Quinn, the big one. Tested out at 2 Polybos worth of strength. He's the 5th of my guard now, and he'll work with Melissa hunting down the orc elites we can't hold on the field. Coordinate. 3. Double the patrols around the fortress core. Polybo assigns. Anything to report? No. Dismissed. 10 seconds of silence. Then every knight stood, saluted as one, and filed out. I was floored. The captain caught my look and laughed. Golden Empire for you. We're not those preening old nobles who love the sound of their own voices. Pointless ceremony gets the shortest possible time. He jerked a thumb at Hester. Meet our medic. Skinny little thing, but she's hell on order nights. Hester pressed her forehead. Why do these two describe me the exact same way? When she explained she'd met me through my gold-haired master, the captain perked up. Gold-haired noble? That's rare. Order material. Did you forget? Every gold hair carries a different gift. You and Lily both. At the word gift, Lily's little head swiveled up from her booster chair. The captain smacked his palm. Right? My size, Lily's strength. That's the royal blood. I'm the strongest here, Lily's second. That's why. You didn't know that? Your teacher never taught you. My teacher was a barbarian warrior. He only taught me how to hit things. He crossed his arms, proud, and laughed loud enough to rattle the room. Then, curious, so what's the gold-hair's gift? Stronger than Lily? Faster than Melissa? Genius medic? Genius alchemist? No? Don't tell me he's an artist. I don't want artists. Artists can go sing on the front line. Hey, that look. He's an artist, isn't he? Hester rubbed her hands. Awkward. He hasn't shown the gift yet. So he's useless. You could put it that way. Then why are you telling me? Smack. She didn't dodge that one and went sprawling across the table, but the next instant she laid a glowing palm on his thigh. 8.5 feet of legend knight rolled on the floor, clutching his leg, all dignity gone. Hester planted a boot on his breastplate and lectured down at him. You're gold-haired too. Go understand what that means. 5 years. 5 years until the next Golden Emperor's succession. Get some urgency, or they'll ship you off to put down the demon folk. The captain just went limp, arms out on the floor. And do what instead? Fight my 230-year-old epic cousin for the throne? He punches ancient dragons to death. Or my cousin who was blessed at birth and held off 7 epic demons alone at 13. I haven't even got my second legend. Demon folk it is. The Golden Emperor's title goes only to those who reach epic. Any gold blood who becomes an epic hero can contend, however far back the line runs, and the last one standing inherits the crown, and a power that builds on myth itself. Brutal beyond any law. Even heroes with 6 legends die in it. That's why the captain wanted no part of any faction. The trouble is, neutrality is its own slow poison. When a winner emerges, the winners celebrate, the losers vanish, and the neutral gets spent for parts. Unless you've got power they can't afford to throw away. He sat up like nothing had happened and buried the future under that big warm grin. Yeah, Hester's good people, just a nag. Anyway, boy, your armor's done, had it cut overnight. Try it on, and if it fits, you're on the field today. For soldiers hauled in a suit close to his own, same snarling, Grim lines, 100-odd pounds of steel that had flattened an ordinary man and sat just right on me. First time I ever wore real plate. Then he kicked me clean out the door. The old sow's not on the field today. Go have fun. Waste that armor, and I'll open your skull. The drums hammered, and the beastmen came in like surf again. Front rank, shields. Second rank, spears. Simple, and the stone axe boremen couldn't crack it. Once enough of the common ones had died, the elites came on, boremen, and mixed in with them ratmen and dogmen. The ratmen were the saddest things on that field. Barely half a meter, hunched, no stronger than a child, and weak even for beastmen. You only get one elite for every few 100,000 of them, but they breed up out of the dark like mushrooms after rain. I have to taste these humans, one squeaked as it came. Grandpa said they're sweeter than the finest lamb. Woof. Me too. Our knights opened a path and fell back behind the order line, that wall of steel grinding forward step by drumbeat. At the point, a head taller and a third broader than the rest, came the moving fortress they always fear. The smallest ratman's legs buckled. It actually turned to run, until the enforcer's lash and the priest's frenzy snapped its red eyes wide and sent it screaming forward with the rest. They never reached the wall. A man-shaped tower launched out of our ranks and crossed 50 feet to land like a cannonball, and out of the dust a hand shot, caught the lead dogman by the skull, and a flash took its head clean off. 29% to the next skill. Elite skulls are tougher than the common ones, I said to no one. Meant to just crush it. Quietly. But every elite on that field had ears, and at those words every hair on every beastman stood up. What is this monster? I swept my plain, ugly sword wind out, and to them it was a scythe out of hell. Nothing of theirs could stop it. Scatter, some ratman shrieked, and a dozen of them got it at once. This wasn't a defense tank order knight. This was a glory-hungry power build. Dodge him, use their speed, swarm him from all sides. Smart. The order knights they couldn't crack. Me, they thought they could. I read it too, and grinned under the faceplate. Surround me? Try it. I drove off my heel, locked onto the nearest, and hit it like a charging beast, and the diagonal cut, shoulder to hip, split a ratman elite open, guts on the ground. Around it, the others saw their brother still twitching, still wailing with that stubborn elite life, and saw, mostly, that they were terrified. You're loud, I said, and put my sword through its throat. Then I spread my arms and laughed under the blood. 37%. Come on. More. Ha. The laugh broke their nerve. They scattered like sparrows. Behind them, the boreman enforcer ignored the runners and called up 2 of his own. Deal with him. If I'm right, he's a wild beast warrior, same as their captain. We only have to land 1 hit, and we win. 10 boar riders on tusk hogs swept up the fleeing rats and the odds and ends of other tribes and charged the order wall together. I looked at the menagerie rolling toward me. Ram, dog, pig, rat, horse. I muttered an old life joke. Few more, and I've got the whole arc. There was even a single big-horned gray sheep loping along on all 4s with no rider, which, odd. Whatever. Free experience. Time to level. I sheathed the sword and went quiet. Bent slightly, eyes narrowing, all my senses pulling in until the only thing in the world was 2 tusk hogs barreling straight at me, faster than the rest. From outside, I looked like a guttering candle. Inside, the blood roared like a volcano cranked to its limit. Every ounce of force from arch to fingertip wound into one spring, and through the blade, I touched it off. No dodge, no flourish, just a single full-strength cut straight down the middle. The riders couldn't even perceive it. The sword wind rolled out like a wave with nowhere to go around it, and the 2 of them ran onto it like it was a wall. HSSS. Mounts and riders came apart. 52%. 66. 84. 100. Killshot archer system. Rolling. New skill, charisma, rank A+. From a certain gleaming golden archer. A rare gift, command of great armies. Even a king famed for generalship gets by on AB. Nice. Useless to me right now. He's spent. He's done. Now get him. Kill the human. The elites ringing me lit up when I dropped to sit on the ground. Eyes shut. Sure, I'd just one-cut 4 of them, hogs included, but even a legend has to breathe after a strike like that. Kill him, and I spare your tribe, the enforcer bellowed. Kill him, and I never touch your people again. Threat and bribe both. and the rats and dogs and centaurs all bared their teeth and came. From a few dozen yards off, my ears caught every word of it. I lay back, arms and legs flung out, recovering. I'd burned myself out on that strike. Couldn't kill a thing for a minute. But I wasn't worried. I called over my shoulder, lazy. "Hey, brother, tag in." "Who's your brother?" Polibo shot me a flat look as he led the order wall up over me. If the captain hadn't said you could have fun, that reckless stunt alone would earn you 3 days in the box. He had a knight drag me back behind the line, then locked shields against the charge. He'd happily have torn my arms off, but never mid-battle. He wasn't going all out when he fought me. He was thinking, this one's the same breed of monster as the captain. He shook the thought loose. I'm the spear point, wings close in. For the Empire. I didn't watch the rest. On a straight fight, the Beastmen never beat the Golden Empire. If the line ever buckled, miracle arrows would cover the retreat. Half an hour's rest, and I saw Polibo march his knights back, every man bloodied, every man's step as steady as when he left. "Hey, Polibo, how'd we do?" "No report for you." He picked up the pace toward the gate. When I made to follow, an order knight caught my sleeve. "New blood. Quit needling him or he'll stick you on point next time." "What's his problem?" "We didn't kill a single beastman out there. If they were easy to kill, we'd have marched on their capital years ago. We order knights are lousy on offense. Not because we can't win, but because the second we close, they run." "Hey, new blood, don't." I'd already jogged up and clapped Polibo on the helm. "Don't sweat it, man. No kills this time. No big deal. Next time I'll carry you. We'll rack him up." Figured I'd smooth things over. We work for the same boss now. I'd already beaten him bloody, water under the bridge. Honestly, he looked a lot more agreeable to me lately, especially flat on the ground howling. He did not want my goodwill. His hand drifted to the sword at his hip. "Filthy mongrel, get your dirty paw off me." My eyes narrowed too. "You little." I say 2 nice words and you think I'm soft? Fine. As guardian knight of House Pinewood, I challenge you to a knight's duel. You. He ground his teeth like a chihuahua in a cage. Yes or no on the duel? Accepted. In the name of the Golden House's guardian knight. Boom. 1 tin can, embedded in stone, eyes vacant, pondering the meaning of life. 5 minutes later, the captain's office. He flicked me in the forehead. "You went after Polibo again?" He tattled. "Stop bullying Polibo." I offered to help him. He went for his sword. What was I supposed to do but issue a formal challenge? I said it with a perfectly straight face and got another flick for it. Then I locked eyes on Polibo, hiding behind the captain, raised a fist, and asked, "As guardian knight of House Pinewood, I challenge you to a knight's duel. Do you accept?" You. He knew exactly what I was doing. He raised his fists anyway. "In the name of the Golden House, I accept." I turned to the captain, hand up like a witness. "You saw it, sir. Fair and square." Boom. Polibo, in the wall again. I blew the dust off my knuckles. "Still tattling? What are you, 6? The captain caught my head before I could go for round 2 and held it like a leash. "Polibo's only 19. He hasn't been through what you've been through. Go easy on him. Stop picking on the kid." So I looked at him. 2 meters of scarred muscle, arms thicker than most men's legs, built like an ox, standing there like an iron tower, and told him the truth. I just turned 18. 2 days of getting nowhere, and the beastmen went quiet, camped off in the distance, sending out the occasional scout patrol. Thornspear's answer was to send fast-moving me to clean those patrols up, a chore to everyone else, a rare shot at experience to me. A week of grinding, elites included, barely squeezed out 1 skill. Summer Splash, rank A+, from a certain swimsuit archer. A variant magic release, broad uses, most commonly for that refreshing summer cool. Also useless. I tested it. The description says it spends mana, it actually spends me. Full power gets you an ice bucket challenge. Maybe handy someday. Sitting in the courtyard, I finally cracked it. Were the first 2 pulls a beginner's luck window? Is this my real gotcha rate? What's gotcha? Lily looked up from a slice of watermelon, twin tails swinging. Out of armor, Lily was just an 18-year-old girl. Under 5'3", soft golden curls, big eyes blinking, juice on a clean little face, a flowered skirt, white socks, a bunny slipper hanging off 1 toe. Half a watermelon bigger than her own head, and she was committed to it. She'd been under the captain's wing since she was tiny, walled off from the world's bad intentions like a father shields a daughter, except when he sends her to charge a battle line. After a week, she was the guard member I got on with best. Partly because I could match her at arm wrestling, partly because I kept producing weird snacks. Like today's iced watermelon. Yes, this world has watermelon. Grapes, lychees, apples, lemons, cherries, berries I don't have names for, all seasons at once. The reason is Hester. As a follower of the goddess of plenty, healing is only one of her tricks. From farming to weaving to forging, 80% of anything to do with supply. She can skip the whole tedious middle and land straight on the result. Scatter seed, fruit appears. Set wool on a table, it becomes cloth. She carries half this fortress on her back. Frontline wounds are just what turned medicine into her day job. Nothing, I told Lily. Eat your melon. I'll bring you something better next time. 3 bites and she was done. She wiped her mouth, tossed the rind, and asked, "No patrol hunting today?" "Nah, nothing out there to bother with, and they're not attacking." "Isn't that good?" "It's boring." I cleaned the juice off the corner of her mouth with a napkin, patted her head, and sent her off to swing her pink hammer in her bunny slippers. Truth was, with no orc patrols to chase, I was so bored I almost couldn't sit still. Which is how I ended up wandering into the captain's office and right into the middle of something. The captain, Hester, and Polibo were huddled together, faces serious. Polibo turned away the second he saw me. Hester sighed like she already knew I was about to make her day worse. "Shoo, shoo," the captain said, waving me off like a stray. "Go play. We're in a meeting." Scram. Captain, don't be cold. Any jobs outside? I want to kill something." A 2-meter man pouting is a psychic attack even a legend can't tank. He started rolling up his sleeves. Hester gathered her papers, exhausted. "We won't crack this by talking in circles. I'll go work it alone. Polibo, keep those 2 groups apart. Don't let them mix. I'll keep at it." "The Calamity God's cult?" I said. "Is there plague in the fortress?" The room froze. The captain stopped mid-swing and stared at me like he'd never seen me before. "How do you know?" I had Polibo seal it. "Guessed. The Calamity God's power is plague and natural disaster. A fortress like Thornspear shrugs off disasters, so, plague." But I didn't bother explaining. My whole gimmick is dumb meathead, more punching, less thinking, and I like the gimmick. People hit me with reason. I hit them with physics. Doesn't mean I left my old life knowledge at the door. I just rarely get to use it. The captain set me in a chair and patted my head. "Can you fix it?" "Depends how bad it is." If it carried any miracle power, my knowledge was useless. But going by Hester's symptom list, fever, chills, coughing blood, headache, hard breathing, spreads on contact, no miracle power in it at all. So the fortress's blessing does nothing. Long incubation, 100% fatal. That wasn't some magic curse. "Hester," the captain said, "he's yours. Even if he's good for nothing, he can haul corpses. He gets out of line, come get me." Understood. This world's human civilization is barely 2,000 years old. Cave to city-state in a few centuries, propped up the whole way by the raw productivity of the gifted. But it's lopsided. A merchant in fine silk drinking from rare porcelain can still be killed by a head cold. The Golden Empire has no healing class for the common man. What a doctor can't fix, you tough out. Or you try their bloodletting, which is worse. Hester laid it out. Definitely orc delivered. Brutally contagious, no miracle in it, so the fortress can't touch it, and her ceiling is 20 cures a day against 100 new cases. Day 4, and counting. It wasn't a briefing so much as a woman venting. Watching lives slip out from under your hands is the worst thing a healer knows, and in 3 days she'd lost more soldiers than the whole previous year. I shut the report and thought a minute. "So, what do you figure we do?" "Find the source," she said, slumped against the wall, silver hair a mess. She hadn't slept. Every time her power refilled, she spent it on the sick, and it was a drop in an ocean. "And what do you figure the source is?" "If I knew, I wouldn't have dragged you in." "Animal, plant, food, water, air, or people," I said. "That's the whole list. The garrison and the residents share a water source, so water and air are out. They'd both be sick. Polibos can find the soldiers, so people to people and plants are out. You handle the food yourself, out. That leaves animals. So think. Lately, inside these walls, which has there been more of insects, birds, or rats?" Her head was spinning. Her whole framework is look up the answer in the goddess's database. My reasoning wasn't in any database, but she could tell it was a complete, working system. Most of these things spread by touch and by droplets. I went on. I want masks. Cotton, cover the nose and mouth. Don't choke off the breath. Gloves for anyone handling the sick. Isolate them, yes, but open the windows. Keep the rooms clean. Don't give the thing a place to live. Clear the latrines fast. Waste and all. Don't let it sit, or insects carry it too. Burn the dead promptly. Stops new strains, stops the bugs. And boil all drinking water. The plague can't live in boiling water. I wrote it out and blew on the ink. She snatched the page before it dried, eyes flying across it, cross-checking against everything the goddess had ever given her. She found a few matches. None of it half this detailed. This is the patient handling side. Anything to add? I folded my hands and looked at her, and for once let the real thing show through. Not battlefield arrogance, just a man who'd lived it. Because there's no one alive who understands disease control better than me. I couldn't swear it was the plague, the Black Death, but I knew the symptoms cold, and the precautions don't change. No, nothing, she said, staring at the page. His handwriting's beautiful too. You'd never guess a brute like this could write like that. I just smiled. Back when Wes used to make me copy his lines for him, I had to forge his hand so well that even we couldn't tell our writing apart anymore. Old habits. I pointed one finger at her. Last thing. On the treating side, I can't help you. That part's yours alone. She went still. Source and spread, the two things that matter, were solved. Healing was just spending power. Hope you beat it, I said, and stuck out a hand. She stared at it, stuck, shake it or not. I remembered the first time we met, and waved it off, drew it back. Forgot. You hate to touch things. Just put in a good word with the captain. Get me a kill job. I'm dying cooped up in here. I yawned, opened my eyes, and she was standing right in front of me, hand out, pale and small. From the chair, I had to look up at her, which put her looking down at me, cold as ever. Shake. Am I a dog? You say shake and I shake. This is an order. Or I'll have the captain order it. It's a handshake. I switched gears fast. First woman to offer, no loss to me. My calloused paw closed over her smooth one. I gave it a sneaky little squeeze. Soft. Slippery. Nice. Her face went frosty. Let go. No. You said shake. I shook. You say let go. I let go. What's that make me look like? AGH. I yelped and snatched my hand back like I'd grabbed a live wire. Humph. A flicker of a smile crossed her face, seeing me flinch, even knowing I was faking it. You can go. I'll handle the rest with Polibo, and I'll speak to the captain for you. At the door, I called after her. One last thing. She stopped. How do you treat the ones who already have it? A frown. She'd said she could cure the plague. Some of them die tomorrow, I said. And 20 a day isn't enough. She knew. Some of them died tomorrow. And 20 a day would never be enough. I've got an idea, I said. It's not a pretty one, but you're the one who'd have to do it. Here's where it stopped being clever and started being ugly. Hester told me the shape of it after. I'll give it the way it happened. The goddess of plenty's power can purge any plague that carries no miracle in it by mimicking the holy light, which drives out disease. But mimicking the light costs an enormous amount, even for a heartbeat. 20 a day and no more. So I'd offered her a different math. The terminal ones are going to die regardless. Instead of spending the light to fail to save them, use their bodies to find the cure. For each symptom, swelling, fever, congestion, the poison itself, try a different drug, a different combination, and use the goddess's power to compress a day's effect into an instant so you can read the result. If a mix slows the disease, you're on the right track. If not, change the mix and go again. I'd said it like it was nothing. To Hester, it was human experimentation, a desecration of the goddess's gift, a toying with dying men's lives. The goddess doesn't much care if her followers kill or punish. That's a believer's right. But this stood her on the opposite side of everything plenty is, even if it saved more lives in the end. And I'd said it not knowing how monstrously a god guards its faith, or what happens to those who betray it. She did it anyway. They carried out the first man she'd picked, into the sunlight he hadn't seen in days. Half conscious, he thought the goddess's glow had come for him. Then he screamed, not like a man being healed, like a man on the rack. The two aides flinched and didn't dare ask. Cold sweat beaded on a brow that had already lost the thread of thought. Half a minute, and he went silent. Under the white cloth over her face, Hester's eyes stayed flat and fixed and absolutely certain. Captain Hester, what was? You don't need to understand. Forgive me, she prayed, and reached for the next one. Because finding the source took a day. Killing it took 5. The sick were piling up. At 20 a day, the dead from this plague would top 1,000. And if the garrison bled too badly, the marshal would punish the captain. Gold-haired or not. In the Golden Empire, clear reward and clear punishment is the highest law of all. So she had to find the cure faster than anything had a right to. And she did. June came in like a furnace. The only cool to be found was in the stone rooms, and the kitchen wasn't one of them. Saucy sauce, here's today's kid's meal. Eat every bite. That's disgusting. Then don't eat it. No, I mean what you're wearing is disgusting. I'd stripped off my shirt, granite muscle, sweat slick, and tied an apron round my neck, and Wes had long since stopped reacting to my nonsense. He just put his head down over the food, stewed beans, grilled meat, a sandwich, mung bean soup. Not that he's unworldly. It's that my cooking doesn't belong to this country. Even the plainest ingredients turned to gold in my hands. Soft beans smeared on bread, crisp-edged and sweet, with grilled meat alongside. He didn't have time to talk to me. Rest up, I said, but keep training. Work off that chest fat, hear me? And put a shirt on after, don't catch a chill. Then I took my plate and left him to it. The room was Hester's office. Actually, she'd parked Wes there to keep him clear of the plague, only moving him at night when the halls emptied. She's good to my brother, I'll give her that. I walked straight into Hester at the door, hands in pockets, dead on her feet. Lady Hester, good afternoon. Eaten yet? Are you a degenerate? The little apron couldn't contain the situation, sweat catching the light. The right amount of muscle attracts the opposite sex. This amount, apparently, just repulses the army doctor. Add the June sweat musk, and with her senses, she gave me a 2-meter berth. Lady Hester, that really hurts my feelings. Off. Don't come near me, or I'll kick you. You told me the good news. Where's the bad? You really are a degenerate. Between her tattling and her miracle hands, I kept my distance like a good boy. She pressed her forehead and trudged on toward her office, thinking, privately, that she'd felt more in these last weeks than in the year before, and every bit of it traced back to one clever animal. A seed the captain scattered without a thought had grown into a tree and borne fruit just in time to carry the fortress through. She couldn't even manage real disgust anymore. All she had left was a manufactured cold to keep the man at arm's length. She honestly couldn't tell whether that was a good thing or a bad one. To me, beating the plague never felt like much. I tossed out some advice. Whether she took it was her business. But day by day the plague ward thinned. No more 100 a day. A full sweep of the fortress turned up the source. A bird, spreading it through infected droppings. And on the 3rd day after my advice, Hester announced she'd mixed a cure. Common drugs. All of it in the fortress stores, which took the weight off her shoulders for good. Even the infected were out of danger now. And with that, I got my marching orders. Sprung at last, I tore out of those walls and didn't stop until I was practically at the enemy camp, putting any beastman I met to the sword on the way. Lucky for me the old Saushulga was away, or I'd have come home a layer of skin lighter. Lucky for me. Less so when I made my report and the captain put me on the floor with one punch. Not one of you gives me a moment's peace. Is there a single normal person under my command? And that earned me 3 days in the box. So, to be clear, you chose to be in here. I got thrown in. There's a difference, you understand. Hester didn't react. She knelt on the floor of the lockup, praying silently to her goddess, and there was nothing cold about her now. Bathed in moonlight, her face was a masterpiece, devout and still, until she opened one eye. Seen enough? Nope. I lounged on the big cell bed, bored out of my skull. First time in the box was a novelty. Second time, for days, with company that prays, torture. By the way, I said, propping my chin, since I'm the one being punished and you're in here voluntarily, leaving's a lot easier for me than for you. She scoffed. Did the captain knock something loose? I can walk out the second I want. You're stuck here 3 days. But you don't want to. Me, if something comes up, Lily wants to spar, Wes wants breakfast, I just go. Couple extra days in the box, who cares? She fell silent. She'd forgotten. This wasn't a dumb slab of beef. This was a beef that thinks, and thinks with a head full of strange knowledge. Then she wrinkled her nose. The wild beast warrior musk is not a metaphor. It's a literal pheromone, a scent that marks territory, like a tiger spraying the edge of its range. In a fortress, it just reads as a weird body smell, harmless to noses duller than hers. Hers aren't dull. She edged away and pinched her nose. How often do you bathe? Once a day. I don't believe you. She stood, laid a glowing palm flat, and a little miracle washed me to just bathe and sent a breeze curling the extra scent out the slit of a window. Better. You think I stink? Yes. Obviously, said her whole face. So I cupped both hands over my head, scrunched up like a man straining, and grinned wide when she looked over. Long as I've got miracle power, I can make as much of that smell as you want. Still want to call me stinky? What is wrong with you? It was, she'd later admit, roughly equivalent to taking a dump in front of her. Out. Get out. Her, near the end of her rope. Did I upset you? I can't stand one more minute in here. You get out then. Me. She trembled, breath coming short, a vein standing up on her forehead. She'd never met anyone who could needle her like this. I'm reporting you to the captain. Reporting what? That I interrupted your sulking? I'm not sulking. I'm praying to the goddess. She nearly shouted it. A faithless wretch like you will never understand. And that, the word faithless, is where I stopped joking. I believe the gods are real. I just don't respect them. The captain's the same. Hester half wondered if it was a wild beast warrior thing, 2 for 2 with no reverence in either. Let me ask you something, I said. You became what you are, a steward of plenty, through faith? Her chin came up, proud. The goddess of plenty doesn't measure her faithful by brute strength like yours. She measures mind. I once worked out a remedy for wounds that didn't exist before. That's what won me her favor. You're just an animal with strong arms. I nodded. Right. So we agree. I stood. And even though she knew that frame by now, when I spread my arms it pressed down on her all the same. Muscle laid hard as slabs of stone, raw force coiled in it. I raised a fist over my head and let the wild grin come. The God you pray to doesn't lift a finger for your faith. She rewards you only when you do something. So I genuinely don't understand what you're praying for. I looked down at her and let the contempt show. You don't actually believe your devotion's 100 times stronger than everyone else's, strong enough to move a god, do you? The captain and I both get it. Faith means nothing to a god. My class means I offer her a worthy hunt, and she lends me power in trade. That's the deal. So tell me, what do you bring your goddess? Useless faith? Or prayers that only comfort yourself? Every word landed like a hammer, because I was negating the load-bearing belief of a whole age of gods, and every word was true. The sea next door has 100 times the Golden Empire's devout and a fraction of its power. And days ago, she had done the thing, the human experiments, that put her on the heretic side of her own faith. By every rule she knew, that crime should have stripped her power and rotted her from the inside. Instead, for uploading the cure, her power had grown. She'd come into this cell to repent of even thinking a thing against the goddess. And 3 sentences from me had cracked something that wouldn't seal again, like a hairline fracture across fine porcelain. No matter how you mend it, it's never whole. Her breath went ragged. A small hand pressed hard over her heart. Ha ha. She gulped air like a fish thrown up onto a dock, trying to get back to a water that was gone. Her legs gave, and she sat down hard on the floor, staring up at me, lost, pleading. The brisk, untouchable quartermaster of Thornspear wearing a softness no one had ever been allowed to see. I crouched, took a fistful of silver hair, and lifted her up. Any other day that move earns me a slap and a joint lock. She didn't fight at all, just hung there, eyes hollow, watching me. And I smiled, and let the words go in clean and cruel. Pathetic, Hester. If I'd known your conviction was this thin, I'd have stayed in bed. The thing is, the getting out to report line was nonsense. I value my own neck. I don't throw my life away on suicide runs, and even if I did I wouldn't go tell the captain about it and ask for grief. The truth was simpler. Wes wouldn't stop talking about her, so I came to see if I could pull her out of whatever hole she was in. The verdict was clear enough. This one was about to break. Then tell me, what am I supposed to do? A flicker came up in those dim silver eyes. Hope. A drowning woman closing her hand on the last reed. Same as with the plague. She'd stopped caring whether I actually had an answer. She just needed something to lean on. If I'd told her right then to go wave a spear at the front line, she'd have gone without blinking. As long as there was a way. Any way to hold her faith together. I sighed, set her down like a teacher with a struggling student, and patted her head. Simple. Go ask the goddess yourself. Ask her, do you want my faith? Am I doing right? That's all. People will try anything when they're cornered. Except math. And this was that kind of corner. To her, it was a cruelty. Ask the goddess. Only myth-rank heroes can speak to a god, and she didn't dare even dream of myth. The hope I'd lit went out, and her eyes nearly shattered. How could I possibly? How could I ever? There was a sob in it now. I'll help you then. You? Do you trust me? Moonlight through the half-shut window fell across my hair. Her eyes were too blurred to make out my face. Only the shape of me, large and certain, one hand out. And she put hers in it. Thick. Warm. She looked up. One pair of eyes flat as dead water, one deep as a sea full of stars. And the certainty in mine seemed to see straight through her. Say something, I prompted. Huh. She'd drifted off for who knows how long, forgotten to answer, only just noticing the heat bleeding from my hand into her cold one. She lifted our clasped hands, squared her shoulders, set her face, and got her old crisp voice back. If you can't make me a myth, then no matter where on this earth you run, I will find you. I just laughed. There's no such option. I say it's possible, so it's possible. What I meant by help, of course, was to feed her the civilization of my old life. Not the cultural fine print, just the ideas, the threads, and let her steward's gift spin them into things this world has never seen. The plague was the proof of concept. Wild beast warriors keep a good clock. Left undisturbed, I'm up at 7 sharp. Undisturbed being the catch. I peeled an arm off my chest and looked down at the woman sleeping in my arms and fell into deep thought. How exactly did she end up here? The night was a blur. I remember her tapping me on the head at some point and going inexplicably to sleep. I woke to find her treating me like an oversized body pillow, arms and legs slung over me, one thin shirt between us. I wasn't wearing one. Heart to heart's a new posture for me, I'll say that. I have no feelings for Hester. Friendly acquaintance, tops. And last night she was nowhere near herself. Take advantage of that, and I'd eat 2 beatings minimum today, one from her and one from the captain, with a real shot at a tag team. I can do that math. I'm not getting pounded over my little brother down there. But interest owed is interest collected, or I wasted half a night. A soft sound from pink lips. The little movement stirred her awake. She opened her eyes to my face an inch away, and, same as ever, went cold and blank, like nothing had happened at all, calmly sliding her arm out of my hold and her leg off my stomach. A flash of white light, and the sweat-damp robe became the spotless coat. She squinted, morning sun was in her eyes. Then, like she'd remembered something, she dug a pouch out of her coat and dropped it on the bed. I know what you've given me can't be repaid in money, but this is the only thing I have right now that you'd actually want. I wasn't in the room for the part where Hester finally came out of the box, but Wes pieced it together for me, and it's worth telling. She marched straight up to the captain, slapped a supply list on his desk, and rattled off her demands. Steel and charcoal, lots of it, fast, because if her research panned out, she could push every suit of plate in the fortress to a new tier of defense. Good for him, good for the line, good for the empire. Half an Order Knight's protection lives in that heavy shell. Upgrade the shell, and she had a real civilizational achievement to her name, the kind that buys a ticket to the next rank of her class. The captain didn't answer. He just stared, so she waved a hand in his face. Captain, did you hear me? And the 8.5-foot man swept her into a hug. Sob. Hester, I was so worried about you. You were locked up for days. Nobody made me dinner. That last part was probably the real grievance. But he was crying like a 2.5-meter toddler, so she let it go. I made progress, she said. I need Quinn freed up to help me run some tests. Can't. He killed the tears and pulled her over to the sandbox map. The orcs are serious this time. Plague in every fortress, and elites slipping past the line with stealth relics to wreck our miracle network. Comms are half dead, scouting's all the way down, supply roads compromised. 3 kinds of infiltrators, crowmen scouting and watching, snakemen harassing, tigermen doing the actual killing. Textbook mixed tribe squad. We're border side, so we've been spared so far, but the other fortresses are trading 10 order knights for every orc squad they put down. The tiger men, he said, were the problem. There aren't 20,000 of them in the world, but nearly every adult becomes an elite, and they breed more legends than any beastman race alive. One tribe's worth of legends rivaling the whole Golden Empires. Spend too long carving up boarmen, and you forget how bad the cats really are. An elite tiger man hits like a high-end elite, and with snake venom backing him up, an ordinary order knight is just so much meat. Their answer was the upgraded classes, the disciplined knight, all defense and a miracle-charged greatsword, and the executioner, the armored truck of the bunch, no weakness but its speed, and those could grind the cats down. But every cat the orcs lost was a cat trying to kill a legend and ascend. Some of them were dying on purpose, swinging for the fences. Tell Lily, Melissa, Quinn, the captain finished. Their job is simple. By any means necessary, bring me back one orc squad, dead. So that settles it. Who's our squad captain? Me. Me. I'm captain. Lily shot a hand in the air, bouncing, armor clanking, spinning her pink hammer in a way that strongly implied she'd hammer anyone who said otherwise. I picked her up by the head. When I ask who's captain, the answer is me, and you do what I say. Clear? No, no, no. Her arms and legs paddled the air like a snatched-up chick. I want to be captain. Let's vote. Fairest way. I dropped her. Melissa, you good with me as captain? I'm fine with it. Melissa, swaddled in her cloak as always, said roughly the only sentence she ever says. Only people who knew her knew what kind of madness that cloak hid. Then it's decided. I'm captain. Lily ground her teeth and drummed little gauntlet fists on my hip. Unfair. I didn't get to say anything. All right, go ahead. I do not agree Quinn should be captain. Melissa and I both agree. 2-1. Your no doesn't count. She flung the hammer down and latched onto my leg, wailing. Do over. Do over. Melissa only says one thing. I have to ask her first. Fine. Ask her. Lily sprang up, rattled her armor straight, and turned big, pleading eyes on the cloaked swordswoman. Melissa, will you let me be captain? Say something. Melissa, Melissa, Melissa. The results speak for themselves, I said, and lifted her up onto a horse. Lily weighs maybe 100 pounds. In full armor with that hammer, she's better than half a ton, which is why she rides a special crossbreed warhorse, beast blood and warhorse mixed, built to carry the weight. I'm lighter, armor and all, under 700 pounds. Melissa weighs about what a normal person does, lighter still with her relic gear, so she rode double with me. Except she didn't ride so much as, hey, quit standing on my head. I'm training my balance. Could you stand on my shoulders instead? No, your head wobbles more. Better workout. I learned about the squad chasing us the way I learn about most things, afterward, in pieces. Here's their side. 3 of them, picked years ago for this war. A tiger man named Ragnar, golden fur, fangs, 300-odd kilos of him moving with the lazy grace of a noble lounging on a yacht, picking wildflowers and trying to learn from humans because his father told him to. A serpent woman, Helga, half snake, fixing blood out of her hair. And a crow man, Arn, a human face on a crow's body, the busiest of the 3, eyes always on the sky, keeping the link to his white feather crows alive. His feathers were already falling out from the strain of using a frail, miracle-less body to scout legends, 3 years before they'd grow back. They weren't a thrown-together squad. They were a family. Helga teased that if either of the boys had scales, she'd consider being their wife for a year. Arn shrugged and said his fondness for scales stopped at the dinner plate. Ragnar swept them both into a hug and told them he loved them, and that once he made legend, they'd be his lieutenants. Because that was the dream. Make legend, and they stopped being disposable pawns their own tribes had thrown away, and started being people who mattered. 3 elites who could take down a whole Order Knight squad. Sure, but they knew the truth. This was dancing on a knife's edge. Nothing stopped a legend hero from killing elites. Get spotted by a crystal line legend, and it was a one-sided slaughter, less than 5% in their favor. But flip the odds. If the tiger could kill a legend hero, he'd ascend on the spot. Then it would take the marshal himself, or 6 legends boxing him in from 6 sides, to bring him down. Otherwise, he'd be confident he could run with both his friends. Back home, No longer cannon fodder, but a voice the tribe had to hear. Ragnar, once you're a legend, what'll you do? Helga asked. The tiger lit up and started painting the future for them, the way he had since he was small. A good hunting ground for his father and little brother, who'd both failed the god's trial and barely had enough meat. A fishing camp up north he'd had his eye on forever. A home for his friends, his grounds open to them anytime. He loved imagining it. He'd been weak once, and the things that were impossible then, he was going to make every one of them real. Then a thin cry came down from the sky. A white feather crow, settling on Arn's shoulder, passing word. Looks like my child found new prey, Arn said. Ragnar's friendly face went cold in an instant, muscles swelling under the fur, eyes flooding red. 10 minutes to finish the fight. Then we keep wrecking the miracle veins. Cut them, poison them, smash them, whatever works. Pull this off, and even without a fight, the deed alone might make us legends. And while all that was happening, far away at Crystal Line headquarters, 5 men sat around a table in armor worth a kingdom and decided my fate without ever knowing my name. The one at the head wore purple and gold plate, so heavy with miracle it pressed on the room like deep water. 30 legends worth of power, easy. The other 4 wore red, blue, white, and black, nothing like an ordinary knight's gear. These were the Marshal's 5-color guard, each leading 1,000 heavy infantry, each able to punch 1,000 men through an army of 10,000. The Marshal himself, an epic, doesn't waste time on small fires. The guard handles everything below legend and every fight under 10,000 strong. They were also, as it happens, the ones who'd put the captain under house arrest more than once. 3 days, the head of the table said. How many orc squads have we cleared? 3. 1 a day? Too slow. Solutions. Proposal, we go ourselves. Wipe every squad in a day. Denied. The 5-color guard does not leave headquarters. That was their one flaw. As the price of all that power, their individual strength only ran about 5 legends worth, even a touch under, and outside the fortress they were dangerously exposed. Proposal, send the White Rhino Fortress Captain, 5 legends. Denied. The problem isn't strength, it's mobility. 1 legend or 5 makes no difference at this. Only those of us past 6 legends matter, by the brick-throwing principle. Below 6 legends, even a disciplined knight's barely twice an order knight's speed. Proposal, send the Thornspear Captain, the Wild Beast Warrior. Denied. Too risky. If he hits 3 squads at once he could die, and besides, the door banged open. A runner spilled in. Urgent. The Thornspear Knight Captain has sent 3 elites to hunt an orc squad. 5 identical expressions of disgust. That man, acting on his own again. Every elite is imperial property. How dare he deploy 3 without? House arrest. Another 2 months. No, replace the man as captain. Denied. No emotions in council. They all knew exactly how much trouble that captain was, and they all knew exactly why their hands were tied. He and the marshal shared a teacher. Pull the 3 elites' files. A pause. Gold-haired royalty. He sent royalty out there? A purple-haired swordswoman. I know her. 3 cuts, 5 orc elites. And he sent her. That's imperial wealth on the line. And who's this black-haired boy? A brand new elite. He's sending him to die. House arrest. Definitely house arrest. Meanwhile, out in the field, I was weaving a straw hat. Tada! I can make straw hats. Quinn's amazing. The only person who ever cheers for me. Lily's sulk over losing the captaincy had lasted under 5 minutes before turning into pure runaway cold energy. Same age as me, the body of a grown woman, the heart of a kid who'd only ever touched the outside world through fighting. She jammed my woven hat onto her bright silver helmet and turned to Melissa, balanced one-footed on my head and sweating. Melissa, does my straw hat look good? Don't distract me. When the praise didn't come, Lily flopped on the saddle and yanked the horse's mane. Quinn, I want to fight. When do we get to fight orcs? No idea, I'm still looking. And quit hitting the mounts. Those are good war horses. Fine, fine. So where are we even going? No idea. The captain just said go kill an orc squad. Didn't say where. Then again, if we knew where the orcs were, we'd march an army in and it wouldn't be our problem. Aya. She buried her face in the horse's neck and rocked. So what do we do? He said no coming home till we kill a squad, and I miss my little bed. We wait. Wait. The orc elites were here to smash our miracle sites, with imperial elites as a bonus prize. 3 of those elites strolling around together was a fat target no orc squad would pass up. We don't go to them. We just ride around taking in the scenery, and the orcs come to us. Oh, that was fast. We barely left. A wild beast warrior's hearing has range. Not as much as some orc scout breeds, though. So the moment I sensed them, it meant they'd already surrounded us. Time to grind. They came boiling up out of the brush from every side. A black-furred boar man, rotten meat still in his teeth. A brown dog man with 1 ear and half a tail. A squat, beady-eyed rat man. A leopard man in black leather, a white cat folk with razor claws, a bird man, a fox folk, and a serpent woman whose human top half rode a long scaled tail glinting green, tongue flicking. 8 of them, the low-tier elites that scout ahead of the real squad. Terrible in a straight fight, masters of sneaking and hiding. The ones who couldn't run fast enough are already in their betters' bellies, so the survivors are quick. 8 of them couldn't break a 10-man order night wall. But 3 of us, they liked those odds. They couldn't read our strength by sight, only by numbers, and the count said they had us. So Melissa drew her sword and announced, "For each." I shoved her back down onto the horse. I want all of them. My heart caught fire. The old thing rose up in my face, twisted and grinning. I leveled my sword at the serpent in front. "You die, huh?" She never heard me. She just saw the flash of the blade, and then the big man chasing it, fast and away a big man shouldn't be. She spat a wad of dark green venom across my path. I took it on the armor and kept coming. All my will poured down the edge and swung that diagonal cut clean across a tail thick as a man's waist. HSSS. The blade drove in, parted scale after scale, and stopped at the bone. I tore the sword free and gave ground before she could counter. In my head, I'd already split her in 2. Instead, I'd opened scale and muscle and couldn't even crack bone. "Tough one," I muttered. Melissa caught up unhurried. High-tier snake scale is hard as steel, and the tail's got more muscle than a whole human body. A regular order knight can't even scratch one. You cutting in is impressive. The snake's whole game is that tail, armor and weapon both, hard and strong. Her weakness is the unscaled human half. I just hadn't known that yet, which is the only reason she lived. And she was every bit as shaken as me. Even fellow elites can't get through her scales, and the second she wraps you, you're done. This human had cut her. Don't underestimate him. So she made the obvious move. Together, kill the man, and your tribes get my protection. I swear it by the war god. The low-tier elites' eyes lit like sharks scenting blood. Not hunger anymore. Duty, the bone-deep pull of keeping the tribe alive. Every one of them was a thrown-away pawn picked to scout and die, and the protection of a high-tier elite would make them not pawns, but heroes, the kind who gave their lives for the clan. They bared teeth and claws and came, eyes wild. Any elite alive would have felt that wall of killing intent and wavered. Even Melissa, even Lily. I didn't. The worse it gets, the calmer I get. 100 battlefields worth of instinct steadied my head, and all that was left was every weakness in front of me. The rat man's stubby limbs, the leopard's thin frame, the fox's soft hide. It all arrived as plainly as breathing. For the clan, for the tribe, for my children. He's mine. The 3 fastest were on me, weapons up. Ashina style. Iajutsu. I drew, and a line of light past the eye's ability to follow tore out across them. This is the art of carnage, learned in an ocean of blood. The instant the blade clears the sheath, the world loses its color. Nothing left but red and pale white. A dozen smooth-cut pieces of meat dropped, and from the confusion in their faces you could tell their brains hadn't yet caught up to the fact that they were already dead. 73% to the next skill. Rainbow sword. Melissa's blade flashed, not surgical like mine, just impossibly fast, every stroke for a throat or a heart. 2 down like she was slicing melons. And Lily, finally catching up, charged the snake screaming her head off. Order bulwark. In the law's witness, I sentence you to the hammer. Yeah, the mantle hammer came down. Boom. The snake whipped back in a panic, and where the head landed it cratered the ground a yard across. And the little one was already spinning all that weight around like a toy. What in the world is this monster? The snake thought. One freak who could break her scales with a standard sword was bad enough. Now a tiny one with a hammer that could absolutely flatten her. No running. Lily flung the hammer like a windmill, and the snake flattened herself to the dirt and felt the force comb past her scalp. Then she looked back, and the little knight was already airborne, spread eagle, shrieking "Yah! Die, orc!" and landed on the snake's waist. Tail wrapped up around her. She didn't care. She drove a gauntlet fist straight into the gash I'd opened and started digging. The scream was something else. People forget that anyone who swings that hammer has the strength to back it. Lily clung to the wound like a face hugger, all iron and no give, and the snake couldn't shake her loose, couldn't outmuscle her. Bleeding badly, fading fast, the snake was almost done when I called it. "Lily, back off. Watch the venom." "Yes." She dropped the half-finished kill, leapt clear, let the snake flee. Her silver armor was painted red head to toe. Once the snake was gone, she asked, baffled, "Why'd we let her go?" Order knights shrug off poison unless you mainline a lethal dose. So she'd held back because I told her to, and she trusted I had a reason. I did. The captain wants a high-tier squad dead. That snake's got a squad. We follow her blood trail, and it leads us straight home to it. Their squad can think of that too, Melissa pointed out, wiping her blade. Walk in like that, and we walk into a ring. I shrugged. If the kid and the lady are scared, you can run on ahead. I'm grown. I'm 18. I'm not a kid. Sure, you're grown. I patted her head, hoisted her onto her horse, tucked Melissa under my arm, nudged the warhorse forward, and whistled a little tune. Walk slow. We catch them when she rejoins the squad and bag the whole nest. I wasn't worried about losing the trail, because the system had just paid out again. Killshot archer system. Rolling. New skill, Farsight. From a certain centaur archer. The eyes a sniper needs. Clear vision for miles, see-through, long range, illusion piercing. With wisdom enough, even glimpsing the future is possible. Convenient, I said. Convenient how? Melissa, on my head, had no idea what I was muttering about. Nothing. I said your figure's just right. Boring. She shut her eyes and said nothing more. Her face changed color a little, though. Helga the snake ran 5 kilometers before she stumbled into another orc squad and bribed them to go intercept us. Then a white feather crow found her, and Arn dropped out of the sky behind her, brow tight at the sight of her, bones showing in her wounds. You met a legend? She shook her head, swallowed a chunk of bloody meat to start her race-fast healing, and got it out. The humans sent high-tier elites. 3 of them. Each one can beat me one-on-one. A big man with legend-grade technique. He did this. A short one with terrifying strength, bear-man strong. And a woman so fast I couldn't stop her sword. A 3 elite squad strong enough to wreck the whole vein-smashing plan. Arn launched a crow with the signal to gather, and told her to recover. 2 squads were coming, and if it went bad, he'd call the rat. But Helga, swallowing, said it. Tell Ragnar's squad. Count them in. We need at least 3 squads. Don't throw lives away on this. Arn's eyes narrowed, a cold light in them. You rate them that high? Then maybe this is our chance. Because killing a legend isn't the only road to legend. So is winning a battle the gods deem worthy. Snatch a victory out of a fight against high-tier prey like this, and a god just might take notice. So they called Ragnar. We're going to be late to the vein nodes. Arn told him, waking him from his nap. The tiger's friendly face went hard. Why? A human high-tier squad. Nobody else is sure they can kill them. A pack of garbage, Ragnar said. Garbage, Helga agreed, though she'd nearly died to that garbage. She told them what the snake folk are, while they readied. Snakes are old and greedy. The legend goes that they betrayed the ancient dragons for treasure and had their dragon blood and dragon fangs stripped away for it, withered down to scaled worms, until the war god pitted them and took them in. He pooled what blood they had left into their lower halves, giving them that mighty serpent body, and shaped their weak upper halves on the frieliest human stock. They don't call themselves snake folk. They call themselves the boots of God, content to be trodden under, terrified the god will take back even this last scrap. Tiger men are different. The truest orcs, the hand of God alongside the lions, the tigers prizing the individual, the lions prizing the pack, the war god's left and right arms. And crow men like Arn, latecomers, didn't even get a good name. They call themselves the sky's eye, a thin thing next to the eagle's wings of God. But even a high-tier crow could tie up 5 order knights on speed alone. His grease and mud feathers a kind of armor. Let's get it over with, Ragnar said, rolling his shoulders till the joints cracked. They give us the threes position? No, not till 3 squads link up. 2 squads that were already inbound got called off to wait for us. Helga spat. Cowards. How did the war god ever pick them? Don't get cocky, Arn said quietly. Those order knights must have relics to hurt us. Be careful, especially you, Ragnar. You're captain. You can't die. Obviously. The tiger looked downright pleased, like a man off on a picnic. To him, human elites were infants. Hand an infant a hammer. He still can't kill a grown man. When the dust settled, Lily was actually tired. A few dozen low-tier elites lay scattered into one wide pool of blood soaking into the ground. And the loud one was for once quiet, sitting on a rock, hammer upended, hugging the haft and nodding off, snoring through her helmet. She snores in her sleep? I leaned in to watch, delighted, like I'd gotten a new pet. Melissa rolled her eyes. I guarantee you snore too. Her own hands were shaking a little. Orc hide is thick. Only I felt fresh, killing all those elites without a hitch. Close to 20 of them paid out another skill. Fairy bloodsucking, A+. From an archer who became a fairy. Drink blood to restore stamina and miracle power and to heal wounds. The fairy's gift. The bar crawled now. A common orc elite barely 4%. But mid-fight I'd cut down a high-tier crow scout for a fat 19 and earned a long gash across my shoulder for it, his claws punching through the heavy plate. The new blood-sucking skill is the only reason I wasn't already back at Hester's. I swept Farsight around. 3 squads. 3 tigers, one of them white. Snakes, the females are prettier. 3 crows. All look the same, feathers everywhere. What are you muttering? Nothing. Don't worry about it. I set the dozing Lily on her horse and dropped Melissa up next to her. Take Lily. Go that way. Straight. Ignore any orcs you pass. You'll hit the nearest fortress fast. Get them here, and bring whatever captain's nearby. Melissa frowned. What are you doing? I smiled. You two are spent, aren't you? She gripped her sword and found her hand half numb, her arms and legs aching, her miracle power dry. Lily had even less in the tank. She'd been carried onto her horse without noticing. The girl still wanted to stay. There are pursuers coming, right? Our target's a high-tier squad, and we've only killed 1. Plans change. I pinched her waist. You're tired. Go eat something. Your waist is narrower than my hand. Too skinny. No explosive power. She slapped my paw off, completely unbothered by the liberty. This is my ideal physique. You wouldn't understand. The woman has a whole road mapped. Frame, sword work, fighting style, all of it under her control. A thorny road she can already see the end of. Fine, fine, Lady Melissa has her plan. But first, go get help and quit being deadweight on my battlefield. Do I really have to spell it out? She slapped the horse and rode off the way I'd pointed. I sat down against a big tree, drew my imperial sword, and stuck it in the blood-softened dirt. By their pace, 20 minutes to the nearest captain, 5 more to get here. Which meant for the next half hour, every orc out there was mine. Heh, glorious. Here's where I should level with you about my own setup, because I'd just done the math myself. Physical exhaustion the skills can fix. Mental fatigue, I carry on grit. But I'm climbing. The Ashina style sinks deeper every time I use it, where I once needed everything to cut down 4 elites. Now 30% puts down 3. Some of that's Boreman hide being soft, but most of it's me. Every muscle's settling into the perfect shape for the style. The footwork lets a man my size cover 10 yards in a blink. Beast arm keeps building my body. Fairy blood-sucking floods me with fuel, and my frame drinks it down so hard I'm getting taller. This armor's already getting tight. And with enough power in the tank, even the ridiculous summer splash earns its keep. 30% of my strength swung with full force damage and a brutal water pressure punch behind it. Picture a fire hose that kills. Charisma, mounted riding, farsight, no combat use yet. So that's the whole kit. Speed, strength, technique, recovery. A near-perfect 5-point fighter, missing exactly 1 point. Hang on, aren't I supposed to be an archer? You won't spot me in AK-47, fine. But couldn't the system at least toss me 1 skill for, shooting? How is the killshot archer's hole build a melee brawler? Small problem. A few more pulls and it'll sort itself out. A rustle in the brush brought orc stink with it. At 50 meters, which is when I knew the captain was here. Farsight confirmed it. a few sneaks, and one dusky gold beast strolling out through the brush, parting branches, not hiding a thing. I'd seen him in Farsight already and figured he was just another elite. Face to face was different. You, beast, you're not the same grade as the others, I said. The pressure rolling off him, those narrowed eyes with the killing light banked behind them. It was the bone-deep dread of small prey meeting its natural predator. And his face tightened too, before he grinned. If they died to you, they weren't garbage. Just unlucky. We knew each other on sight for what we were. Not any enemy we'd met before, but a real one, the kind worth being afraid of. A man can beat a leopard for a price. A tiger, you check the edge of your blade first. The rest of them filtered in around us. Snakes, tigers, crows, 9 high-tier orcs, 30+ low. Counting the ones the Order Knights cleared and the ones we'd cut down, the orcs had thrown over 100 elites at this operation. Any human empire would call that a crippling loss. The orcs don't. To the ones at the top, elites are consumables, and the ratmen breed elites by the horrifying score out of the dark. Below epic, every orc race is just fuel. Hey Ragnar, only one. My child says 2 rode off on horseback. He spotted us? Lucky. Looked like they had no fight left, slipped right past. A pity, after we mustered all these. Want to go first? A white-furred tiger couldn't take the needling. He stepped up, and Ragnar blocked him. Don't throw your life away. The white tiger shoved Ragnar's shoulder, sneered at me, sneered back at his captain. Gone soft out here, away from the tribe. When I get home, I'm taking that strongest elite title off you. Ragnar shrugged and let him go. Out here, every high-tier orc had crossed somebody, each in his own way. I looked the white tiger up and down and grinned. White tiger orc. Pretty rare, aren't you? Aren't you scared I'll hunt your kind extinct? Human, you really don't fear death. He raised a fist. The orcs don't call themselves beasts. To them, they were this continent's first masters, and beast is the human slur. Humans were the weaklings the war god passed over, lucky enough to get picked up by a fistful of other gods and ride that into being the world's masters. One orc empire holds off 3 human empires, but the continent has 100-odd duchies and federations, near 20 of them rightly called empires, in the most crowded age of heroes the world's ever seen. The orcs have 10 myth heroes at most. That's the ceiling the war god could buy. The white tiger walked up, and when I didn't react, reached out and closed a hand around my throat. Under 6 feet, shorter than me, but a mountain of exposed muscle, a hand that could crush iron plate like paper. Except it didn't move, because his wrist was locked in mine. His pupils shrank. I rolled his hand over, the force in my grip nearly snapping his wrist. Beast arm strength is the hunt goddess's gift, an old hunter god's reward to the world's first hunter, and it peaks exactly here, empty hand against beast. I smiled at him, easy as anything, like I was holding a kitten. Beg, I said, or I snap your claws off. I. His furred face went red under the eyes of every orc and his own squad. Reason said beg, or this human breaks the wrist, and a tiger man with no priest to heal him bleeds out and dies. Pride said never beg a human, not in front of everyone. It's just one arm. You hairless ape. How about this then? I let the wrist go and took him by the scruff like a tomcat. Beg me, or I twist your head off. Never. A mere human. The stubborn shouting cut off all at once. Drip, drip. The white tiger kept his pride. I drank what was on his skull, licked my lips, and tossed the head at the orc's feet. Every one of them saw the face still frozen mid-struggle and took a step back. Every one but Ragnar, arms crossed. He'd warned his man. The man hadn't listened, and nobody else lifted a finger to save him. Partly his temper, mostly fear. Nobody wants to be the one who sticks his head up. The hothead had proven what that gets you. Next, wait, the helmet's a hassle. I pulled it off and set it carefully aside. The armor's the captain's old elite suit, miracles and all, and the helm comes off without breaking them. Better. Black curls spilled to my shoulders. The lion's face under them finally got some air. Who's next? Or do you all want to come at once? I really don't mind. I swept my eyes around the ring, and everyone they touched went rigid. Watching me peel a tiger apart was bad enough. Watching me drink him flipped the whole world over. Savage, brutal, primal. The words humans hang on orcs. The words they're proud of. So who was the orc here? Does this one have orc blood? A half-breed? Looking at me, It was the only theory that fit. If you won't come to me, I'll come to you. I stepped over the white tiger's body and walked, unhurried, straight to the one orc who hadn't flinched. You're not scared of me? No. Ragnar shook his head and held out a hand. I'm Ragnar, of the Hand of God. If we both live through this, I'd like you to come hunt my grounds someday. Oh ho, you want to be friends? I'm Quinn. Be my friend, and I'll cook you breakfast, on one condition. He finished it for me. We lived through this. Our fists slammed together. Bare flesh, no weapons, and we held there, the wind of it shivering both our faces, and there was joy in the tiger's eyes. I laughed right back. That's why you want to be friends. We're the same kind of animal. Haha, again. We traded blows, barehanded, 10+ rounds, dead even. Every impact making the watching orcs flinch. This is the kind of raw power that only shows up in the oldest legends, back before the gods handed out blessings by the truckload, when a handful of freaks were born ahead of any class system. Not the win 10 arm wrestles kind of strong. The kill 100 men on the field kind. The kind that crushes everything below legend by sheer nature, racks up a deed without precedent, and gets recognized by the gods on its own merit. To the orcs, the man who tore the white tiger apart was that kind of freak. And the tiger trading him blow for blow was another. Even in the old age, those two becoming legends was only a question of time. Helga, give me your venom, Arn whispered. We have to help Ragnar, or he loses. He'd seen the truth, that there was still a sword at my hip, undrawn, and most of the bodies were sword-killed. The second I drew it, Ragnar fell behind. But Helga only turned, beautiful face white with terror. I tried. The war god warned me off. Every orc froze. The war god himself. If this was the god's trial, no one could interfere. Just like the day I climbed from mortal to elite, the forest had become a one-on-one death duel between me and Ragnar. No relic doing it. Just two fighters whose battle had cleared the bar for legend itself. Both of us recognized. Winner takes everything. One of us a hero who'd slain 20 orcs and offered up the strongest tiger's head as sacrifice. The other a hero standing between a butcher and his friends. Win, Ragnar, and he walks. A legend tiger has a tribe to keep him safe, mission or no. Win, me, and I kill every orc here. Go home, and become Thornspear's number 2, with a second fortress maybe to follow. All of it riding on killing the other man. I just felt the power flood me and thought, not bad, walking the whole road from mortal to legend in one afternoon. No great thrill. Ragnar, though, felt strength pouring up out of him like a spring. Quinn, right? Thank you. I thought I'd have to kill a legend. Turns out just killing you does it. My first legend. I'll remember you forever. So good. So good. Kill this man. Become the protector of his family and his friends. The thing he dreamed of since he was small. The power surged in his blood and bone. His strikes coming heavier, harder. Eyes gone red. Claws growing longer, raking at my chest. The screech of claw on steel. Sparks. I couldn't hold it and flew back, snapped a tree in half with my spine. None of my own grade ever made me go all out, Ragnar said, delighted, watching me sprawl. You're the first to pull this much strength out of me. Be proud, and now show me everything, so I can become a legend the right way. I got up and felt my chest. He'd aimed his claws at the gap the crow had torn, the only spot on me he could pierce. And it hadn't landed clean. Without the crow's secret art, his strikes couldn't punch my heavy plate. My one real weakness was the head I'd deliberately bared. But the instant he so much as thought about the head, my right hand drifted to the sword, fast enough to take his arm before he moved. He knew it, so he played his next card. You don't know yet. I follow the war god, but my power comes from the goddess of the hunt. My class is Wild Beast Warrior. He stepped forward and swelled like a hill, red light wrapping him, miracle power bursting off in waves. Cornered beast. The deeper the danger, the more you pray, the more potential the hunt goddess wrings out of you. An elite killing up into legend, possible. I got up, felt that familiar surge off him, and grinned. Strange marks bloomed across my own armor, primal and wild. The same red haze coiling up my body. Not exactly a desperate moment, but it's my first time using this too. Cornered beast. On. You're sent, I knew it. We are the same kind. Ragnar howled, twisting with adrenaline. But you'll still lose. It's certain, certain as a fruit tree bearing fruit. as a child growing up. Nothing changes it. His punch became a snarling tiger of red, fanged and roaring. I didn't dodge, trusted the plate, and met it head-on. We hammered our fists together again, the wind of it gnawing furrows in my armor without quite breaking through. Then his other fist came, and I caught it in my palm, and the cold of the steel only drove his blood higher. Ah, he swelled again, and now the size gap was real. The tiger had me beat on height. I knew what was happening. The captain had told me, cornered beast is a comeback engine. Between two wild beast warriors without a crushing gap, in a duel where one must die, the weaker one wins. The god's pity lets the small live and lifts the strong to his side, to chase prey forever. It's a faith-powered berserk button. His fist came down like a hammer and put a dent in plate that was supposed to laugh off any physical blow under legend. 10 tons, easy. A loaded cargo truck hitting you head-on. I backpedaled 2 steps to kill the momentum, and felt his strength still rising. The red around him went almost solid, and I could see it wasn't all cornered beast. Most of it was his own blood, vessels bursting, his body redlining past what it could hold. Cornered beast ceiling is myth. Keep your body intact and stay in danger, and you could grow all the way to a myth hero. The catch: a few more pulls and Ragnar would pop like a balloon. This is nothing. I can go higher. Adrenaline drowned the pain, arms swelling to barrel thickness, and he raised them and brought them down in the crudest, most direct way there is. I slipped aside. Just one heartbeat. Hold out a little, and the blood would rush his brain and burst, and the tiger would kill himself. But I wasn't going to wait. You're strong. I'll give you that. Strong enough to kill me. But if a fight were only about who's faster and who hits harder, we'd settle at arm wrestling. Kill, kill, kill. The power had drowned his mind. He couldn't hear a word. Talking to a wall. He'd dropped his own cornered beast. He'd held it back all